There we go. So, like, the point that we need to get into is not singular. We've got to start off first with talking about upcoming podcasts and shows that are very paramount and important that are going on now. And the first one we're getting into first will be Antifa Vanguard of Education, which already exists as a channel. It's not really any content yet, but it will be starring Comrade Net, the Obnoxious Anarchist, and the Anglesist, and that will be getting into the important need for anti-fascist movement across the globe. But of course, mainly this is going to be discussing about the necessity of it within the first world narrative, of which imperialism is reaching into that fascist and antagonistic mode of movement. You've got the Marist Rebel Gang, which is going to be Jason and Mason Steiner, Chad Antifa, and Comrade Net. And it's going to be fun little tussle and struggle, because we've got a vast variety of different perspectives and opinions there. Some dissident, some egotistical, some all over the place, but they're all good comrades, and they're all going to squash together, meet heads, discuss all sorts of different stuff. That is going to be all over the board when it comes to having a great bash about and a good conversation from four well-respected comrades. Panther Power. That is a show that was very much needed, that we've actually been discussing quite a lot about today, to do with we want to bring Stephen Struggle and Dr. Weizfeld together to have some absolute struggle sessions together, and bring the old guard into the full position that they need to be in to help support the new upcoming front forward. Actually, this falls in line with the words that Dr. Weizfeld himself said, where we the wise sort of experience that they've had in the past of what has been needs to sort of be, analyzed, looked at, and passed down to a degree, but it needs to be, what is wrong proven wrong, what is right proven right, and seeing what we need to push forward by the young that are coming forward. Like, it's a bashing out of different ideas and different ideals. And then this comes into, after the Panther Power podcast between Stephen Struggle and Dr. Weizfeld, we've got to come into somewhere that's not to do with the podcast now, but to do with the dire situations that we're in now. Now, Conner Gillis needs much love, and she is one of the people aiding Dona Newman in a struggling condition that she's in right now. She's hot out to the effort that she's putting onto this, and that we need Elizabeth to read Donna's emails and help out and be, around and help and support her with the stress that she's under of all the shit she's been through over the years. The Falcone General is a badass kid, but she needs to get her head around things a bit and be a little more or less steam thing. But things need to be expressed and explained to her. But she needs to, people need to not be neglecting her, but it also needs to come to a point where she needs to be grounded. She needs to not be flying off the heels too easily, too much. We need to have a sensibility about herself, because it's all well and good putting, like, I'm all for education. Need anger in things, and that passion and anger is one thing that she's got, and one thing she should continue to use and express. But we've got to know when and where is too far to go, and when and where is too far to speak, and call stuff. Okay, I guess that's funny coming from me, because I'm a bit of a mouthy get at fucking all sorts of different avenues and turns. But the situation regarding Falcone is that they're going through that period of time where they're going to be a little more off the beaten track in the heels of the way in which they express and put themselves out there. But what Falcone does is paramount important. They go through it. They're putting a lot of stress on themselves to be trying to get involved in this at a young age. So I think more consideration needs to be given to the fact that they are making content about the issues in the world that, to be honest, given their age and class position, they don't actually have to give a fuck. So the fact that they might make positions that you don't like or I don't like, or might be a bit overzealous on certain issues or others, that shouldn't be a point of contention to a degree where we start attacking a teenager in the same way that you're going to attack an adult. You've got to dissertate in a way that is respectful and understanding, and pay respects to the fact that, did you give a fuck about this stuff when you were that age? And were you in as much of a class position as she is at the same time? Because you might not have been. You might actually be in a lower class position than her, and she'd be the first person to tell you before I am, because I don't fully understand the ins and outs of it. So maybe you're not giving enough credit to the fact that she's probably in a better class position enough that she could go focus on education, go get the degree she wants, and tell you all to go fuck yourselves. So the fact she's going to take the time out of her day to go and do all this, stream all this, make all these points out, that needs to be taken into consideration and given respect. And hello, Jawad Sayed. Now getting on to Dr. Weizfeld, this is the really core part of the situation, because criticism is levied in a lot of ways where sometimes it comes across with a little bit of a blind side to it, because there's things that they can see that are problems in people's position, and I've done it myself in regards to this, where in regards to these things, is that you can end up taking the problems, the wrong sides of someone's position, and elevating that towards patterns in other people's position. And what ends up happening is people look at the end point where someone is, and they don't look at the history that they've got. Now, this Dr. Weizfeld is the person I'm speaking of here, and it's the no one seems to be willing to fully wrap their head around the situation of him. They just want to talk about the here and now, and I understand that. I can get that. I can get the animosity, and I can agree with some of the criticisms, but the point is that we're not going to get there by slandering and ignoring the history behind them and just treating them like they're just some academic. And I am one of the first people to jump to criticize the library aristocracy, or anyone who's an academic, or anyone who's like that. And I spoke with Weizfeld today, and I have a lot of respect for him. The way he dealt with things, the way he dealt with my criticisms of things, and handled the conversation and come up with some great points about other stuff. It was a very enlightening conversation, and he has a lot of charm to him. But not only is it about this, is his very respectful way of discussion and being able to engage within those conversations. But it was more so, the point that I would like to lay out is his history. The one thing that you need to take into account as someone is their background, their upbringing, where they come from. That is very important. The first 7 years of your life are one of the most imprinting parts of your life going. Is what ingrains the sort of principles that you are going to hold for a very long time in your life, because once you pass that 7 point is when your brain is fully independent. You are on your own. Your baseline is all you've got behind you, where you are reliant on your parents. Like, you're still living with them, yes, and you still got a reliance on them to a degree, but once you pass 7, you've psychologically developed to a point where your brain is actively working as an independent unit. So you are as cooperative as any part of this species is, but you have reached a point of they say the sort of starting point where you start to turn into a man. You've begun your path to proper independence. You've started to think more independently. You're not relying on your parents to think for you. You start to get to a point then when you start to develop on. And actually, if you see, this comes into one of the problems of the labor aristocracy. The people who are born in the labor aristocracy, their parents think for them too much longer, and they end up not developing a greater sense of independent thought for themselves for a longer period of time, and it perversifies themselves into a very concerning way of thinking, very childish one as well. But the thing to point out with Dr. Weizfeld is he comes from a family that were persecuted and massacred, during the Holocaust. His mother was a survivor of suffering in a camp, and I will say the words that he said to him, probably not well enough exactly, because I'm not the best at repeating things, so I do hope I don't do him any injustice. But his mom, he interviewed her after the war, and he asked, like, did he have any properties or anything like that would have been, be stolen or taken, or that could be claimed back as, Jewish people that because it was all, about the bank owning Jews that were stolen, all that bollocks. He asked them about this. What they said is no, they own nothing. Not only did she own nothing, none of her many brothers, there was 10 siblings altogether, owned nothing. None of them owned nothing. They were basically lumpen proletarian, jumping through from job to job, to scrap to survive. And they were fucking genocided like animals. And they were put into camps, worked to death camps, and lucky to have survived. That's already an instant imprint on you. Your mother was a fucking and your auntie your family have been in death camps. That's already a start to your life that is a massive imprint. And then you go through. He didn't start off an academic. He he moved and pushed himself to get into that position as a part of elevating his voice for his movement when he was living in Canada. So that's something that he's pushed for, and he's been all over the place. He's been a part of the anti-apartheid movement, not just for Israel, but for South America, South Africa as well. I always do that accidentally. South Africa. He has been struggling along with the civil rights movement. He's been struggling with this and he's got a lot of support for them. Actually, no, he wasn't in America, but he was supportive of the movements. He's a Panther. He's a Panther, right? That's the point I'm getting to. He's a supporter of the Panther Code, and he's in line with that. Now, he has got a lot of things that he says that offends people. He struggles to deal with black people on a certain degree because of some of the old ways of language that he might use, and that's not his fault. There's nothing. He's not a racist, Dr. Weizfeld isn't. He is absolutely against racism. He's absolutely against colonialism. There's a complete mischaracterization of Weizfeld, and anyone trying to spell that out is just as stupid as the people that are trying to call him a fascist. I'm sorry. I hate to use the word stupid. I don't like calling people that, but there's a ridiculous idea. I have fucking no support in that. Dr. Weizfeld made some bad positions at time. There was the one time he made the bad position about Libya because of Gaddafi's idiotic idea of calling himself the King of Kings, and that was an understandable thing to get confused on. But as he said as well, it was idiotic of him to ignore the fact that NATO was a present force in this action that was going on there, and that the rebel forces were agents of British and American imperialism. So the point to be angled there is that to look at him either as a rigid bloc or as a racist goes to throw away his support for Libya up until the point where Gaddafi went rogue and everything went wrong there, and to ignore the fact that Dr. Weizfeld has more than apologized for being wrong before in the past. And you've got to understand, when someone reaches his point of age and has gone through the things he's reached and reaches the point he's reached to in life where he is an academic, yeah, he is going to make wrong points. Yeah, he might be stubborn about them, but that's because you're not gonna get to an elder by just yamming at his points. That's not how you get to an elder. You've got to show a level of respect for your elders, and this doesn't mean not saying the things that are going to criticize that are going to be hard to handle. No, they're quite the opposite. As even speaking to him about today, it's about saying them things, but showing the respect for them, their positions, the logic they've come to, and the experiences they've been through in life. Otherwise, you are just going to hit brick fucking walls with people who, as far as they're concerned, are being touted to by people who have not as much experience as them. And if you think most of his experience in life is just being an academic, you're wrong. His experience in life is being a supporter of freedom of other people, and so he's been a supporter of the movement for socialism. Has he made bad positions across the line? Plenty of them. Have we all? Yes. My positions have not been fucking good for most of my life. I've been here, there, and everywhere. I've been a Nazi in my past. But you know what? I don't think he's ever been that fucking bad. I don't think he's ever fucking thrown my way down that end. He's been, brought up and scarred with the past history of the Holocaust. He's grown up through the Cold War and supported the movements of all these anti-positions and all that. The issues that he's going to have now, the best way we're going to deal with them is discourse, engaging with him, and respecting the fact of what he's been through, what he's been through, the culture that comes with age, and the fact that we need an application of cadres where we respect the wiseness of the old and the new ideas of the young, and then bring them together. There's got to be synthesis. We can't be turning around and being like, okay, well, there are these now modern issues of Dr. Weizfeld that completely go against this long history that he has got of being an absolute venerated, true comrade, someone I would happily call a comrade. And we're just going to throw that all away because of problems that come now. I don't think that's a good idea. And do you know what? The thing I'd like to point out is I have all the sympathies out there to my anarchist comrades that are putting out these positions. I understand, and Dr. Weizfeld and everyone else should listen to the lumpen and listen what they have to say, but they should take into this consideration that not everything said there is nothing said there is exactly false, but nothing there is, there are things there that aren't exactly true either, because there are speculations and accusations made that just can't be true and shouldn't be made in a way where they're saying I know, or that they're justified. But I have all respect to my anarchist comrades and what they're going through. They're in a massive struggle, and I can understand why they're pissed off at the moment, but we need an engagement of discord. These people have these anarchists are not just anarchists. They're not just some people. Because I know what the internet's like. When you think of anarchists, you think of these dickheads online. Like, like the only anarchists that are online that aren't dickheads are the ones that are coming from the lumpen and speaking out on the internet to get their positions heard. But the anarchists aren't all about straddle on the internet. They have abilities to use it. They could be watching it right now for all I fucking know. But the point is the anarchists are on the street. They're out there. They're more hardcore than any of us. They're the ones that are actually fighting out there. And if you've got a problem with anarchists, you either don't know who they are or you're seriously fucking backwards, because the people who are and actually backwards, not this fucking colonial term you guys like to use and call anyone out in the third world that doesn't fit your fucking liberal fucking priorities. No, actually backwards, first worldist. You're absolutely ignorant of what the anarchists are doing for the lumpen people, and that is shows your complete backwardsness. And that is something that Dr. Weizfeld considers, even though he doesn't agree with the anarchists. We've been speaking about this not so long ago, and he can see where he even made he can see where he needs to make concessions to his position and come towards ours, and we see where we. I certainly do see in certain points where we can come towards him and make certain concessions and bring things in, and that's how we level things in and bring discourse with good, long revolutionaries. But it comes into this, we can't be disregarding our anarchist comrades. They are absolute fucking legends and heavens, and are losing brothers and sisters as we speak, night and day, because of a war that certain fucking supposed Marxists want to say isn't happening in Arizona right now, and that is ridiculous. Anyone that thinks there isn't a war in America, America has been at peace all this time and all these things, because, America does war around in other countries, and this is not comparing exactly to that. This is different. No, this isn't compared to America warring around in nations. No, what is happening in places like Arizona and places like that is comparable to, and not to the same level, but comparable to the same type of relationship to a degree. Is that the sort of, it's a microcosm of it, of the things you get into colonized nations. It's a fourth world struggle, and that is coming into things like Palestine and South Africa and Mako and other places like that. You've got these struggles these struggles are coming in and coming in hot, and they happen all across America. This isn't just an Arizona thing. Arizona is a very special place to look at, because it's different, not calling it a special case per se, but it's a special place to look at in the degree that it really shows how elevated struggles can be. Because if everyone thinks Texas is bad, you need to fucking take a bite of Arizona, because it will shock you out of your nipples, and you'll think of the Texans as pussy holes, and you go step in Arizona. And that is what I've fucking gotten from experiencing my Arizona comrades, from seeing videos last year of fucking the police fucking moving bodies about, seeing fucking a comrade disappear for a while because we thought, at the point where we thought they were dead, like actual severe shit going on down there that worried the fuck out of me, worried the fuck out of Jason, worried the fuck out of Net for certain, because he's out in the fucking deep in this shit, pulling his fucking weight, and no one gives respect enough to that. Well, no, the people are, but the people that do are in the fucking small, not in the fucking big. But yeah, exactly. We do need to support them in their real work, and we need to learn from each other as well. In that, like, they want to learn from us. That's the one thing. There's one of the most beautiful thing that the Maoist comrades had said is that they want to learn from us, so we should learn from them. They are intelligent enough that they want to learn from everyone and anyone, and that is the exact same thing that we should be. Because if we're not doing that, then as far as I'm concerned, they're a million times more smarter than we are. And I don't think smartness is a good measure of anything. But if we're to actually boil it down to that, if we're to go for like the really first world measure of intelligence and all that, as far as I'm concerned, the anarchists are the most intelligent movement at the moment going on there. Now, the actual most intelligent, like, build-up movement I've ever thought was happened in the first world is the Panther movement. And do you know what? I reckon the anarchists would probably agree with me, because they are more in line with the Panthers than any one of you Marxists are at the moment. And that's one of the things that needs to be taken into consideration. And whether they hate me saying that or not, they can fucking fly over to England and punch me. I'd pay, if I had the money, I'll pay for the ticket. I don't have the money to do that, but you can fucking find a way to smack me for it. But I have a full respect to them for that. Like, regardless of what they want to say, they have a principled code that is absolutely right on, and regardless of what they want to do, like, well, it's not really a regardless, because what they're doing is what I mean is, regardless of anything, I've got all my heart in there for them, and everyone else needs to.
it occurs to me that we might have to explain that Jason is now in a position where, you know, we're kind of letting the mask off the veil, that we had our own veil, but it was nothing secret or like, you know, it wasn't like a cabal thing. It's just, it was under wraps. And the federated MLM cadres, they have their representatives. Like Anglesist is actually representing them, but he's not the only representative. He's just the first one. And like, they're getting their messages out. And I noticed that that's where a lot of the people are getting upset, because Jason is tying this to Palestine lately, and as he should, because the Palestinian factor is being informed with the Navajo and the Lakota, you know, indigenous Mexican. Now, one of the interesting things is like it is getting more open, where people are making this distinction, for instance, between Black Lives Matter, the weird organization, and the mass line that existed in 2020, and technically is a line, because the idea of like Black Lives Matter is that Black Lives Matter too. That's the point. It's not that other lives don't matter. And that's the thing, is there needs to be the recognition of who's under repression. One thing I will say in Dr. Weizfeld's defense is that he didn't know that it was Panther Code and all these black Maoist cadres that were actually opening the doors for us. And when he did figure that out, he didn't understand that a lot of times there was a language barrier between them. And then there was a language barrier to the anarchists. And I think that that's why the anarchists have gotten like more open to the angry, because he says he's with them and they're trying to say that, you know, they don't feel like they're being understood by him. But we're kind of in the position where we have to explain the anarchists, you're misunderstanding what he's saying. You know what I mean? If you could elaborate on this stuff, that's okay.
Well, I mean, it's I come into it on this, so it's not so much about the it comes into that a bit. There's a miscommunication on a lot of ends, and more so that there's a lack of communication. So these things are so broken up like this. There's not going to be a solid communication like this. There needs to be more dialogue, and I think the problems that we've had going on that have happened recently, that I won't go into too much detail of, with everything that's gone on in the Bund, and the fact that things have gone the rocky road that it has, that is, you know, that gives an open door for things to actually have more contact, because what was going on before was limiting Dr. Weizfeld's ability to even speak with these anarchists, to speak with Panther Code, to speak with the people like this, because of issues with certain chauvinism and other stuff like that, and mental health problems, and a lot of there's been a diatribe of issues, but we've got you and Dr. Weizfeld are still pushing it in the game, and you're both very dedicated to you know, still being socialist. So I mean, Bundists to be specifically, but the you know, the Bund is in a dying state at the moment, and it's a really struggling position. So it's coming into that, where now that the door is open, and now that we've got sort of the some form of at least rotation happening to the cogs in which the Bund was directed on, we can at least sort of try and get Dr. Weizfeld more contact with these anarchists and maybe build things up that way, because I think if there's more contact, we can get past the language barrier, because the language barrier is always going to exist between the young and the old. That is just fact.
Yeah, and
the academic and the lumpen.
If to elaborate further on Dona Newman, like, because like you see where I'm coming from, like, can you explain why we would like Conner Gillis or Elishuva to be the one to probably work with Dona Newman at this point? I've been trying to get somebody to reach out to Dona Newman for a while, and like Dona Newman has taken a turn of things I disagree with, but I noticed that it's similar to Conner Gillis's take.
I mean, it's very obvious that I mean, everyone's been in a crisis since bloody 1918. It's been a fun time since then. But anyway, when it comes to this, it comes into a many asset of things. You know, Dona Newman has gone for a lot of things in her life. Right? She's put a lot of work into the movement as a whole for this, and you know, this comes into espionage work that she's done that has been very serious. That is, you know, decades of work, and then she's got you've got the what's it? You have the fact that was it 2 strokes she went for? I think it was. So, you know, she's been.
Wait, ask that question again. What do you mean?
Was it 2 strokes that she went through?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so 2 strokes as well, and I lost 2 grandparents to a stroke. So it's not an easy thing to survive, not an easy thing to go through, not an easy thing to keep yourself straight edged. And when you combine all those years of stuff, you're likely going to suffer with issues like PTSD and bipolar disorder. I have bipolar myself, manic depression. I prefer to call it. I think it's a better word, but anyway, the bipolar is big, big difficulty when you've got also the stresses of having 2 strokes. Because when you have problems with your brain, I've had skull injuries myself, you get high pressure on your skull and you can get really bad headaches and really bad pressure. It's really hard to think and focus. Combine that with PTSD issues and bipolar, which causes an innate jealousy, a flippative nature between manic action of aggression towards people whilst flipping back to depressive apologetics, which you can see in the dissertation that has been recently made. If you look at the different points that have been screenshotted on as it flips between her corrections in the small writing of her being absolutely depressively apologetic and her rancid sort of manic explosive capital type dissertation that happened before. Like, there's certainly a lot of difficulties that she's facing and dealing with, and I do not want to insult her of anything I say her, and I don't mean anything I've said here in any disrespect to Donna. I've got a lot of respect for the things that she has done in the past, but she's also done a lot of disrespectful things that do need denouncing that have been horrible, especially what she's done to Net, and it's not on. But what we need to see is that, Dona Newman has not always been well, sorry to use a disrespectful word, but a shithead. So we need to, and to be honest, she used more disrespectful slander for herself when she wrote a dissertation of herself. Well, after she corrected herself when she was slandering herself after, and turned it. She did one of the things that I really didn't like is that she turned on all of her positions when at the end, like, she flipped and blamed herself and blamed everything and tried to say that she was just wrong. And no, because a lot of positions that she has come up with has been good ideas. She needs to not just throw all her positions away because she made stupid mistakes. She needs to reignite a part of herself that was engaged in the boom, but that needs to not come at the expense of her health. So Conner Gillis can hopefully be and I think Donna herself trusts her more than anyone to be in this regard, at least from what Net has advertised Conner Gillis to Donna for. I don't know Donna to be able to speak on her behalf on that, but at least we trust Conner Gillis to be one person who can speak with and handle the Donna's emails and try and take some away off Donna and try and get her into a better state of mind so that she can be more relaxed and essentially get her away from the fire for a bit, because Donna needs to get her health together more importantly than anything, because if her health's together, you never know, her mind might come straight back to the work of being involved with the movement. But she's fell from grace, and that's something that's heartbreaking to see, but we can't just throw her off board. She's not in the right state to just be throwing her away like that. That's disrespectful, and that's not what you do with someone who's been involved in an organization that is almost family-like with the way it builds itself together and respects each other on a very, very, very deep level. And that's why Dona Newman herself is so disgusted with herself and what she did. And I hope that it is true, and that I'm not spiking myself in the ass, but I hope that she pushes herself forward. Now,
I can explain this. Dona Newman has a mad anxiety disorder about a lot of this. She used to have a channel known as this is back when she was one of the day one subscribers of Jason Unruh back in 2009. She had this YouTube channel called Doikite Warrior Princess. Now, Doikite is a Yiddish word which refers to here-ness, which is part of Buddhist philosophy, the idea of wherever we live, that is our homeland. So Dona Newman had the channel Doikite Warrior Princess. She actually used to speak Yiddish poetry. I loved this, even if it was cheesy, because it helped me get better at Yiddish, which we need Yiddish for political reasons, right? She later deleted this channel, and I had criticized her, and this is not something that's very well recorded, nor should it be, but she was so frustrated that I would definitely want her to keep that. But that if we're trying to preserve the Yiddish language of culture, you should, even if you don't like your poetry, you shouldn't, like, hell, how about this? Let us keep the videos, and we can have other people make better videos if you're so worried about it. But she's been mocked for her voice, and she's been consistently attacked, particularly by Trotskyists, for having that Jersey accent.
Oh, come on, like, like that's a low blow stereotype, man. Like next thing you know, you might as well just be calling her a banker. Like fuck off. Like oh wow, so she's got a Jersey
Hey, well,
accent.
Mike
Like
Gonzalez fucking made fun of Neo Jacobin for his accent.
yeah, I mean, well, I mean, people need to grow up though. Like because like, this is like such a low blow stereotype. Like haha wow yeah, New Jersey, female Jewish accent. Ha ha ha, funny. Like okay, grow up. Like these people need to grow up. Like that's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to who she is, and that is a thing that a lot of people have insecurities about because to think anyone likes to have an American accent. Let's be real now. I think anyone likes to have to sound like Americans. Like no one chose to sound like an American. No one chose to hear So
Well,
before you Yankee
I
Doodle
think
Dick,
women with
stop taking the
Jersey
piss out of it.
accents scare people because if you watch, I don't know if you ever saw Friends, but there's Janet, Chandler's girlfriend, on and off Caroline. She's like Chandler being and then you have
I mean, yeah,
a
no, I
Nanny
know.
Fran. Yeah, I don't know if you ever watched a
No,
Nanny.
no, I mean, no disrespect, but I mean, New Jersey is the Geordie accent of America, but that's just what comes of it. I don't shit on every Geordie I come across. I'll shit on
No,
a shit
no,
Geordies.
I'm not saying that, but I think certain people are, for some reason, have an irrational fear about Jewish Jersey accents.
Well, I think I don't. Maybe because they've saw too much South Park.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like there are things that we're told are disagreeable, and we don't know we're told them because we're kind of like subliminally told this shit passively through pop culture.
I mean, what's it? But the thing is it just comes into another one of those sort of like sus things where maybe they're not being offensive to the point where they're being anti-Semitic, but it just rings that tone to me because it's like it just seems like such a lowball joke, like how we're gonna do the whole stereotypical. She's a Jersey Jew. She sounds like a Jersey Jew. Ha ha ha. Like that's what it sounds like to me. Like I'm not trying to impose on anyone or anyone like that. It just seems very petty. Like why people have to boil down to that. And you're probably right. They're probably afraid of it. You're right. They're probably afraid of it because they know that people that are in these certain positions, whether they're Jewish or black or Asian or indigenous, especially, they're probably going to be a bit more radical than them, and they're probably going to smack around the edges. They get cheeky. No, but it's just petty. Like what that shows to me is that they cannot prove her wrong on her arguments. There, like if you've got a problem with her, prove her wrong on her arguments. Don't take the piss out of a fucking accent. That's pathetic. You got to take the piss. And do you know what? The funny thing is they're probably Americans. No American can take the piss out of someone's accent because that's the point I'm getting to. When you sound like this, you can't take the piss out of someone's accent. Like, shut the fuck up, Yankee Doodle dickheads. Like all of you from East Coast to West Coast have a problem with your accent. Let's just get that down. The only Americans that have a good accent are the Irish Americans. They sound sick. The rest of you, though, you sound funky as hell, or you sound like Canadians. Sorry to break it to you.
Well, we were talking about Canada with Jason about how it must suck to be Canadian because you have a banana shoved up your throat called the American banana, and you have a throat shoved up your donkey, let's just say, called England. So
yeah, like they want to call themselves Americans and be more close to the Americans, but they want to be like they're like, oh yes, but we have the sensibilities of being British, and it's funny. It's so pathetic. Like, come on, Canada, you could try harder.
Oh, everybody's so like warm to everybody. I like it. This is a good stream where everybody's not like fighting each other, like in Trav's stream where he doesn't know why people are talking shit in his stream to each other and to him. I gotta talk to Leftism today. I had a good conversation with him before. I need to have another one with him, but I just been busy. Okay. Oh, there we go.
Getting fucked by Britain and the US at the same time. That's Canada. Yes. Oh, and Gaddafi. I mean, not saying he was a form of him. I'm saying he got literally fucked by a machete by someone who was funded by both Britain and America.
So if people want to know Dr. Weizfeld's credentials, with all their proud Marxism, Leninism, Dr. Weizfeld knew the actual Stokely Carmichael, otherwise known as Kwame Ture. He knew, personally did know Yasser Arafat. He did know Gaddafi, like he knew these people. He was in the non-alignment movement.
I mean, this is the thing. So, like, another point to point out there as well with Gaddafi is that Dr. Weizfeld was very much in it to sort of he wanted to work alongside and be close to Gaddafi. And Gaddafi went and made the statement. You know, there was a statement about being the King of Kings, and then there was him choosing not to see with Dr. Weizfeld and went to go see with a neo-fascist organization hiding themselves as fucking leftists.
Yeah, and you mentioned how this gets back into how Nasser was tricked to hating all the communists because he thought because he had a different view from the communism and that his socialism was different, the communists would go after him. But people
So here's the thing. It's not even it's even deeper than that. So what happened was Nasser was tricked by a right-hand man of his who he thought was a trusted friend. Sadat is his name, who ended up being the leader of Egypt. If a lot of people might remember during the war with Gaddafi, where bless them, the DPRK were very smart and they saw what happened and they went and supported Gaddafi in that war because Gaddafi was the right one in that war. This was before Gaddafi was a shithead. It's back when he was a good guy, but and I mean even still in the war that he was in, he was still like the fucking at least the lesser of two evils, and that's the good guy. I mean, yeah. So, but anyway, in this war he was the good guy. He was helping to deal with Sadat, who was an agent of the US. And here's the point: Sadat was tricking Nasser that the Soviet Union was their enemy, that they were gonna eventually assassinate Nasser, remove Nasser. They do not agree with anything he's doing, and that he needs to go and support the USA because the USA will defend him and they'll be fine. Like he was trying to drop Nasser's guard down to the US constantly, and it was Sadat that betrayed Nasser, turned on him, and ended up seizing power from him and fucking that was with the help of Israel and the US. And it completely crushed the Ba'athist movement. Like the Arab Socialist Republics was dying at that point. Without Nasser there, it was not going to ever survive. He was paramount to it. Egypt was the country taking it most seriously, to the point of which you had the other countries trying to complain at Egypt for the fucking it was, I think it was Syria or Iraq was trying to have a go at Egypt for like basically running the entire show, and Egypt was basically pawns pushing forward the most for it. Baathism flexed into different ways, and in Syria it started to move away from socialism and more to social democracy. In Egypt, it got disintegrated by Sadat taking over and destroying Nasser's movement, and in Iraq, Saddam Hussein used it for his own movement and started using chauvinistic Islamic idealism to push people into his aim. And even a lot of people stood, but probably most of the people in Iraq saw through. I wouldn't doubt that. But the people of Iraq were more than happy to support him because even though I'll give this to Saddam and I'll give this respect to Saddam, is that even though he was a shithead and he did a lot of things and failed the Ba'athist movement, definitely, he did still make a solid Iraq and supported them people to a degree. Like he did a lot of shared stuff in his own country and outside his own country, but the country was much safer then than it was after the US went and fucking blasted it to fucking smithereens, and I'll just give him respect to that. We've got to understand this, is that we can't just turn around and be picky and choosy just because this, that and the other. Like shitheads are going to get in power in the third world, but that's not entirely our dictation to make. Sometimes it's looking at who they're willing to fucking deal with and supporting them if they struggle against it. But we can't turn around and be like, okay, this guy's got to go, this guy's got to go, we've got to move here, move that, another, because like a good motion to put would be Gaddafi's movement for the Ba'athist movement. I mean, Gaddafi wasn't a Ba'athist, but he went against Sadat when Sadat took over fucking Egypt, and he fought against him. No, Gaddafi had grounded himself in Baathism and didn't go around his weird idealistic path that ended up screwing him into thinking he was a king of kings, regardless of whether that was supposed to be literal or just a phrasic term. Regardless of what the fuck he says, he was a spiritual leader to people, and they fucking took that to heart. If he had followed Baathism and dethroned himself from his fucking pedestal of bollocks, he would have fucking solidified the movement and been able to have carried the torch if Nasser had died or not. But he had completely fucked himself backwards. Your shit.
Indeed. So.
I was just answering Falcone. Okay.
Oh yeah. Hold on. I'm making sure my stuff actually works, which I don't know if it is actually working. Hold on, let me check something. I'm having a technical difficulties, comrades. Hold on, it'll be momentary. Don't worry, I fix it. Okay, I've got it. Okay, so We've mostly covered everything, but I would encourage those that have just joined to watch the whole thing. Complicated. I tend to agree with this, but the problem is Bothism is actually in 3 different divisions. That's the problem with it. That's why, although I do on the one hand agree with comment number 3, that's technically fascist, I also technically disagree because it depends which Bothism we're talking about. There's social democratic nationalist Bothism, there's actual socialist Bothism, and then there's fascist Bothism.
Unfortunately, Nazism spawned both the socialist one and the fucking the Nazi one, which decided to confuse everything up. Nasser was the socialist one himself, but like what spawned from Nasser.
I definitely believe this. I contest this. I actually do contest this. But
I actually think that if Nasser's movement had gone forward and built the Pan-Arab movement they wanted to, they would have built a socialist society out of it. I genuinely believe that.
I did not hear about this.
And socialism was always a language used by Nasser. Always something he talked about. He always
Dr.
mentioned the word socialism.
Would smile seeing shit like this. See, that's the thing I've told him before. It's like, you really want some solidarity, stop talking to Trotskyists and talk to the Maoists. They got you. They agree with you on a lot of things. And he's figuring that out. Like, he found out that the Engelsist really does want to know what he has to say and say, this is part of what I think is going on. There's not the shock about the terrible past. There's the shock that tankies are the ones that have his back, and he's having a hard time with that. If you could elaborate on that, because you're helping me explain to people, because I don't think I'm enough anymore to explain this stuff to people. So I'm letting you go. Also, because I'm also going to have to step out for a cigarette and let you continue. Falcone should see the beginning. Make sure that Conner Gillis sees this. Stone Soviet wanted to give his love to the broader family. Because he's a brother who can't stop getting high, and I got high with him today.
Gotta always keep getting high. It's the best way to deal with this fucking shit. Get high on life. God, I sound like one of them fucking training videos in America. Are you high school students? How you doing drugs? Well, you better not be doing drugs because you got high school exams coming up. So you better get high on life and focusing on them exams.
The greatest force in the Middle East is the Islamic Republic of Iran, superior to all communist regimes. Amen. All right, I had to. No, see, this is why I said
sponsored by Raytheon.
This is where you can basically voice your concern you had with Falcone. But I did want to say in Falcone's defense, I like the way Falcone trolls because it means I control her back. She'd be like, "Long live Gonzalo!" I'm like, "Long live Gaddafi!" It's fun. It works. It clears the air. You know what I mean?
Maybe,
but
does knowing what you mean I agree with you, because
yeah. See, this is one of the things why Conner Gillis can vouch and say Falcone's actually not a Gonzales, because Conner was a Maoist, but she did almost get. It was the Gonzaloists that actually turned Falcone off.
I have no respect about it. It's Gonzo, like he's a Gonzo as far as I'm concerned. So he's Gonzo.
I do believe that we should.
Idiot.
I appreciate Gaddafi was complicated. He came.
I don't have an opinion on Gaddafi. Yeah, you do, Falcone. Don't lie.
Falcone, I'll let you know this. Jaha Maria is the end game. Is the end game that whenever Demarcus of any sort, whether it's Bundist, whether it's Democratic Socialist or whatever, we all conclude that Gaddafi was super fucking based. That Gaddafi's idea of the Jaha Maria is very close to what we believe the end game is. It's Jaha Maria, not communism.
What's it? Gonzalo is the base.
She has to. And you gotta understand that's part of the personality of Falcone.
I would stop asking Maoists that think he's based, and maybe start asking indigenous peasants that don't think he's based. Maybe ask the people that are fucking experienced people that were executed. The simple fucking bits and pieces, or should we just go and execute the public because they don't agree with us? Because that means we should just go start killing people now.
I think the thing that we all love Falcone for is, if you remember in the early days, people were talking crap to Falcone because she was trying to stick up for the lumpen proletariat and the black nationalists.
Yes, because people like to fucking pick on their easiest target, and they're like, oh wow, someone who isn't a 40-year-old man, I'll go pick on this person instead. It's like, okay, you've gone straight for the teenager that's starting out and trying to get their words out and saying truthful and good stuff saying great stuff. Oh, okay, you're funny. You're funny. Okay, fucking okay, funny.
Like I said, she's like this adorable fox. But I'm gonna have a cigarette. But we need to explain to Dr. Weizfeld what happened at MRM Youth. Jason is really pissed about this.
And, okay, well, do you know what? I think we should talk about it on here. I think that's actually just the thing. We should just whack the hammer down, because you know what? Like at the end of the day, what's it? Pedophilia is a massive problem today, not just amongst this organization, across the board. Not anyone wanting to be a fucking pedophile and get involved in this group can fuck right off, and they will be dealt with accordingly. And that's not a fucking thing that we tolerate here at all. Pedophilia is a fucking absolutely atrocious, disgusting, inhumane fucking thing, and will not be. It's not acceptable.
It's disgusting enough to unite the VA and the Navajo Nation.
The thing is, but this comes into another thing as well. We can't just expect people, because we've said that, okay, all the pedophiles are going to be like, yeah, we're honest and good people. We're not going to get involved with that, because they're not. And it's not that there's some innate badness to them, because that's not something that's come to them. It's still mental health problems and psychological problems have brought them like that. But we've got to deal with the issue, and we can't. We're not solving pedophilia tomorrow, are we? So that's not how we're going to be able to solve this. So how are we going to deal with this? Well, we can't be, and a lot of us are very busy, so it needs to be more people helping and getting involved, especially even people that aren't even involved in the network. I'm not just preaching to people that are involved in the network. Anyone and everyone who knows, or any of us, especially Falcone, needs to not neglect Falcone so much and get involved with them, because the the fact that so many people aren't willing to be involved with Falcone or neglect them so much allows it to be easily opened up to these pedos are manipulative people. They're not going to tell you that there's some 40-year-old bloke that's trying to manipulate. No, they're going to act like they're your age.
I suspect I'm going to make sure Dr. Weizfeld sees the stream. Please tell Dr. Weizfeld about MRM Youth, because what's special to me about Falcone is Falcone does talk to my daughter, who is largely socially alienated, and she's 1 year younger than Falcone. But I'm going to go have a cigarette. You like this is going to be a document for Dr. Weizfeld to examine.
So, and you should mute yourself. Yeah, you go. Okay, so the MRN Youth is just to get sort of a ground basis going, and if my explanation is poor, Jason had a video on this when it first started a few months back. I cannot remember the date for the life of me, but what's it? Fucking 50-50 chance Falcone will end up dropping the link in the bloody chat somewhere anyway. I don't know. But the Jason come up with the wicked idea that I wasn't even smart enough to think of myself, to be honest. I was actually a bit, because of me having my own little sister and other stuff like that, I was really overprotective and tried to basically push aside and get away from the situation, because I expected sort of these dangers. And this is the problem that's come, is these dangers have still been an issue. My worries have been realized not because she went on, because that was a good thing that happened. Jason building up the MRN Youth and having a program that allows them to say things is built on a good thing, and that was never my worst fears. What my worst fears are is that things like pedos and other things like that will try and get involved and go into situations like this. But the no, not this documentary, not being monetized, Falcone. The actual MRN Youth announcement video that he did. But anyway. But anyway, I was more so at the protective sort of side of things and tried to push away and get out of the side of things just to avoid these problems. But Jason went on the prerogative, set up the MRN Youth, and the MRN Youth basically gives an open angle for people who are, of sort of like teenager, you're in your high school, you're in college, teenager people to get involved and if they're getting political, express their politics, especially considering there are a lot of teenage people. As a video towards the end of June, 26th of June-ish, from the Conner Gillis that was put on Jason's channel by Jason, gets into, is that there are kids dying all over the place. A lot of the people that died in Arizona are only fucking 14, 15-year-olds a lot of the time. Some of them, sometimes 16, 17. Like, these are people, like kids, that are dying, essentially. Like, if you want to look at it like that. Like, as far as, like, the young adults in my eyes, because I grew up in that sort of, like, lower class background where, you grow up quicker. But to put this into the way the aristocrats are going to see, they're kids. They're young. They've got a fucking 70 years of their life ahead of them. You want to put it into really big perspective. And they're dying out there. So, I mean, from all sorts of ages, MRN Youth is very important, but from Falcone as well, from being someone who's, and But she's in the upper class. She'd say that fucking need quicker than I would, and she's coming out of the. She could just completely ignore all of this. She could turn around and say, "Fuck you all. I'm just going to do my exams. I'm going to do my things. I'm going to get my qualifications. I'm going to just live a cushy life. I'm going to tell you all to go fuck yourself." And so she's coming out and put her positions. Her positions might be wrong. I mean, you sort of see me clash a bit with them, and there are wrong positions with every one of us. I've got wrong positions. Ned's got wrong positions. Weizfeld's got wrong positions. We've all got wrong positions, but them positions need to be supported. But the problem we've got now is that because of a lot of the neglect that happens, or the disrespect or anything else like that, it's easy for situations where pedophile can get involved in the youth group and start, trying to manipulate a teenager through that youth group. And if it wasn't for their own volition of being able to see these things themselves and catch these things out and bring these things up, with the problem being they didn't have enough people to be able to bring it up to, they had to go to Jason, and everything shouldn't have to always go to Jason. And that's not me saying anything to Falcone on that one. That's me saying everything on everyone else. Like, where is everyone else? Why are people seeing this? Why are we not more involved with MRN? So this needs to be sort of pushed forward. We need more of a protective watch over these sort of things. Otherwise, we're allowing the harsher sides of the world that we know better to seep in onto someone who is still learning their ropes around their own life, but has decided to take time out of that to learn ropes around the greater field of struggle that's going to end up encapsulating their life for decades to come if they stick through with this. And do you know what? The only way we're going to end up being able to keep someone like to stick through with this is if we respect them to a degree. Because someone who is of that class background, anyone who knows me knows I criticize anyone from who's from an upper class background. And Falcone knows this better than anyone, because a lot of the positions regarding these certain things have come from my rants of the aristocracy and office. That you keep pushing them away, and you just don't actually dissertate, don't criticize in a manner that's actually displaying a position across, and instead are going to keep attacking them for them being a teenager, attacking them for being sort of like using slanderous terms like naive or amateur or anything else like that. You are going to be beating them away from this position, and when they reach a point of 21 to 25, they might turn around and go, fuck this, I don't want anything to do with this movement, I can't be asked for this. It might turn them off. Like, that could actually happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to pull through. But you know what? You got to take that sort of respect with someone. Like the thing is that the only time you've really got an open door to convince anyone who's in the upper class of the aristocracy to come over to our side and actually pull them over and pull them away is when they're going through those sort of teenage years. No, fair enough. But there's still not enough people about. It shouldn't be the 4 or 5 of us sort of flapping about to sort things out. More people need to step up and get involved. It needs to be a stronger build, a stronger movement. It needs to be it's a multipolar intercommunal sort of movement that's building us up to the actual field where we can have a chance to build socialism. New socialism is a much wilder concept to fucking what needs to be put into place, and this is something that's going to be this is going to be something that's going to take a lot of work into understanding. But we've got to come together and crack these eggshells within one another. We need to build a multipolar movement that is centered around the lumpen proletariat and the lower working class, and needs to be against the bourgeoisificated proletariat and the labor aristocracy as their scourge against the working class for their own benefits. Because there's always been what you ever see whenever there's been sort of a bit of poor, is that the aristocracy get a nice little bit of benefits, and the things stay either the same or worse for the working class. Sexism in Britain has not been solved for lower class people, or it's still a massive issue. But the labor aristocracy are fucking flaunting and loving off it. They fucking think it's a fucking past issue. A lot of them do, depending on who you speak to. You've got obviously you've got also the fucking rad femmes, and you've got the second wave feminists. The second wave feminists are the innate liberal ones that completely disregard it, and you've got the third wave ones, which are what people might call rad femmes. I don't like that title for calling them third wave feminists, because the third way is actually a term for third position, which is a fascist line of logic. The line of philosophy. The third position is corporatism. But the third way feminists certainly fit that line, and a lot of other their identity political issues. These two problems are, what's the word? They're reactionary and the revisionist, and they completely disregard the point that feminism is supposed to build up to. If anything, they build feminism even more into the colonial superstructure than there ever has been. Like eliminating what I'm a very virulent supporter of feminism. It really puts a bit of an issue, a bit of a hold on it. But I had something to say and I can't fucking remember. This is why you should have notes.
Okay, I'm gonna respond to some of these very quick, and then I'm gonna go on mute again because I'm making tea. But this is some very interesting. You were replying to. Can I tell? Maybe if we can get some time. I do want to say something about this. This documentary will not be monetized. Turned out to have a far right-ranging impact than we thought it did. It's just the way it was organized was very on the spot. You didn't see me and Pinks in the background going to the editor saying, hey, have you got this? Because, comrade number 3 and Jason, they just put together this crazy script. And Jason's like, I need some sort of comedy relief, which became in a lot of ways the central theme. And that was that guy in California ranting about North Korea. And so, in a way, it was a jumbled mess, but it kind of brought the message home about, like, solidarity of people. And let's see. So, Falcone, that's what you were applying to Falcone. This is very interesting. And yeah, no, we're good. Like, yeah, we disagree, and we don't believe in the brown and red alliances. There's no alliance with fascism, but we are willing to be on a non-aggression position with them, on a ceasefire sort of action of the fact that our current problem here is more the white supremacist fascists rather than the corporatists. Although we do oppose the corporatists, but it's like I said, I have a very Bushido look of this. Like, the problem is in liberal democracy, we have to face the music that the bigger problem is going to be YouTube, because they'll censor everything and they will conflate fascists and communists and different socialists. They will do it on purpose.
I'm sort of like torn though. Do we combat the censorship of YouTube, or do we just literally take off a quarter of it? No, think about this. Think about this. There's probably a good 5 or 10% of fucking like big channels on here that have probably got some political message to them. The more and more that they try and censor politics, the more and more people go to these blockchain currency things. I genuinely think that might not be a bad idea. Move to one of these like these new video platforms that either do or do not take blockchain currency. It's not bothered which one you go for.
It's a war on philosophy, Carl. That's what we're dealing with right now. There's a war on philosophy. But I'm going to let you continue to speak.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just one of them. Like, we can't fucking come together. We got to come to, we come together on the issue, but we're not coming together as allies or anything like that. It's more so just, this is a mutual problem. We need to deal with censorship, but that dives into the greater point of everything. Censorship is a big issue, but the problem is a lot of people play into it because rather than putting out criticism and dissertating and dealing with people they don't like, they think that the way you deal with bad ideas or things you don't like is by censoring them. It's a liberal, not just liberal, very middle class idea. Censorship is not right, whether you're censoring the dickhead or you're censoring the good guy, because at the end of the day, okay, in a lovely world, it would make sense to just censor all the bad stuff and all that lovely, but we don't live in that lovely world. We don't live in that lovely world where you can turn around and say you're being a dickhead for no reason, that it would be a good idea otherwise to delete the bad things of other people. Do you know what? We live in a world where things are in turmoil. Like, there's a good quote to put it back onto what Conner Gillis has talked about in a video that was uploaded on Jason's channel a month ago. America is a good example of a place that's constantly in war. And, that's a good point to point out to stuff. If we're in a point where, across the globe, there's constant war here, there, and everywhere, whether in small pockets of lumpen people struggling to survive, or fucking, Arab people struggling to, struggling against Zionistic genocide, or the South African natives struggling for freedom from the still white colonial settlers that are in their country today. I had a point. Where was I going with this shit? Oh, fuck, no. I lost a really good point then. What was I saying before I went on to about the examples? Shit. This is why you don't want to have brain foggery. Fucks up your ability to continue a continuous sentence. Ah.
Comrades, I apologize. My co-host is not used to being able to speak with this much of an outreach. You're having you were telling me that because I got some stuff to weigh in, Heimbeer, but you were talking about how the aristocracy and all its sections should be destroyed.
Well, I mean, yeah, they should be destroyed, but I mean, what's it? It's like from yeah. I know what I was just saying. I know what I was saying. So
yeah. After the revolution,
listen. Before I forget again, stop before I forget again, because I've remembered now. Okay, so the point I was getting to from war across the world in all sorts of different aspects, from the most of it's a lumping in the first world trying to survive, to the mass amount of wars in these other countries across the world. We need to look at things from this perspective. If everything is all in this turmoil, why should we censor anything good or bad? Let the good and the bad all ride, because you know what? You censor the bad, you hide bad people's positions. You should let bad people's positions exist. Yeah, sure, they might convince some people to follow them ways, but it's also going to show people how much of a cunt they are. You let people say more and more and more bad shit, and it's more and more all over the place. Let it be. But if you censor it all, they're going to be able to exploit that bad shit without you being able to dissipate it and it be seen, and it to be seen for its stupidity at the same time. Same for the good stuff. If you're allowing the censorship of the bad, the good was going to get censored too. Also, as well, is it's going to be suspicious, because anyone looking at it from a blank perspective will put it like that. No one's looking from a blank perspective. We'll put it like that. And I'm looking from like the people I give a shit about, so the proletariat and the lumpen. They're looking at that and they're seeing, oh, well, all this is getting censored, but you're saying pretty hard stuff and you're not getting censored. But that's suspicious to me, and that makes it look like you're the ones with the system. So for all of you that think you ain't going to get censored because you're in some fucking daydream, well, guess what? That makes you look like you're a part of the system, and that the Nazis that you don't like are against it. Sorry. So you've basically given them more volition than you have, which is something that goes to show. I mean, it's like fucking what's it? Remember the RCG? The RCG is something that was put onto the prevent measures recently. Do you know what wasn't put on the prevent measures recently? CPG-BML. So that makes me a bit sus about them, because for some reason the UK government doesn't see them as an active enough communist party to be put amongst them lists. The CPB, which is a communist party I've been more critical of over the years, has been put on that list. So there's certainly, even the I think even the SWP is on there. So if the SWP can get on a fucking list for people who are seen for being put on the prevent measures, and the CPG-BML cannot, that goes to show that there's something about that party that people might need to be a bit about, because as much as I've tried to support them over the years and supported members who I know in there, I know people in there that have dog shit positions, and I know that their leadership is utterly backwards on a lot of different positions, ranging east, west, south, south, and everywhere else in between. But yeah, no, with the fucking way in which everything's going, we need to be more on the tongue and show our teeth. But okay, yes. So dual power. Dual power is a very, very, very important aspect towards struggle in the first world, because I mean, we need to do anti-war, we need to put pressure on the state, and we need to be engaging in strikes, and we need to be pushing for this and the other. But dual power is very, very important. Now, in the UK context, it's still very important. You know, we've got to build up for the lumpen people. There's so many lumpen people in this country that are disenfranchised and left behind and need to have that support behind them. But it more folds into better with America. Not that that it's not. This is something that's compatible across the first world in regards to opinion people. But America has the perfect sort of outset for it, but not only that, it has the most necessity of all of them for it, because of the. I mean, we still have our own like nation of African Anglos that of course have their own struggle, but the African American struggle is a larger one and a bigger one and all that. And do you know what? It's a part of the same struggle. They connect to their African Anglo comrades and they come together. This is because it's a part of Pan Africanism. But just to talk about sort of because they're in they're an absolute terrible state in America. The war in America. Coming back to that conversation again, African Americans and the indigenous people are hit the absolute hardest. And you know, their dual power is a very important part of their struggle, because you know what, they ain't gonna be turning around and saying, yeah, you know what, we're gonna just do white man's struggle. Just sorry to put it as broadly like that to anyone who's gonna be a little bitch and get really all hissy about it, but they're not gonna do white man's struggle. That's not what it's about. That's not what this fucking struggle's ever gonna be about. And anyone who thinks they're gonna just do white struggle, they're fucking norms. They're idiots, and they're falling into essentially fascist fucking worldview. Like fuck off with the white, like the fucking we're gonna do the whiteism or the white man thing, or we're gonna do the, you know, we can't do the whiteism. White, being white, this concept of being white is not just it's, you know, it's not just about your fucking, you know, your skin color is what is used to dictate it, and it's what gives you this power. But if you think that just whiteness is about skin color itself, it's so much more than that. And this is the problem. Like, being just like black liberation and their push forward is the most important thing for revolution in America. But they need dual power. We all need dual power, and we all need to build it up for the revolution itself in the first world. But the revolution in the first world, you know, in America, that is going to be led by the African Americans, and they're going to need dual power to build up their movement amongst their people, because they occupy the lumpen the most with the indigenous people. They are the ones being killed out on the streets. They are the ones fighting out there. They are the ones that have led pretty much every American struggle for freedom and a socialist platform or otherwise in the last fucking 150 plus years, longer than that. So you know, these people have struggled for freedom for fucking time, and they have happily struggled for the freedom of white people that that have been in the similar positions to them. This is where you see all of these black people that might be against white upper working class people, white middle class people. They absolutely support the they absolutely support the lumpen white people that are in the exact same struggle as them. It's not about them hating white people, it's about them hating whiteness. And we all hate whiteness, and white people endorsing and delving into whiteness always come into that aristocratic and petty, bourgeoisificated proletarian position, where they are chauvinistic and they are ignorant and they are very racist. And there's a lot of lower class people in the proletariat and in America, and very many of them that also fall into this racist issue born from ignorance. And these people have to defend themselves because their lives are on the line, because America abuses this from the police and from other people that hold these racist sentiments that are pushed onto them through propaganda day in and day out. And, you know, dual power is going to be the push and build for them to build their movement and be in control. And the black population and the indigenous population, they will lead. They will hold the organs of power in a revolution in America. And at the point of that, they will be at the point of decolonization. And if they tell the whites to leave, that will happen. Like, they tell you that's going to happen, that's going to happen. That might not happen. I can't speak for them. They might turn around and I can absolutely love to fucking keep you here and fucking all that and the other. But if the African Americans and the indigenous people turn around and say that they don't want you on that land anymore, you stole it from the Native Americans. You used the fucking Africans to build it up, and as slaves, killing fucking millions of them. You fucked them all over. We can't. We can't turn around and be like, okay, no, that's inhumane of them. We're gonna have to turn around and force them to have to deal with colonizers. No. And this argument that because they're 300 million people means they can't fit in a country that could, like, countries, because countries, they're not all English and they're not all French and not all German. They're a mixture of all these different European nations: English, French, German, Spanish, all sorts. They go back to their nations. 300 million isn't the whole population of the white people of America, and even if you said the whole population of America, you could fit them all in Britain. I'm sorry, you can go on about how Britain's a 60 million country and it's struggling. They're not struggling because we can't handle more people. We're struggling because we're not housing people properly. We have way more houses than we have homeless people. Any of these countries can handle fucking hundreds of millions of people. You could fit the entire world's population in some of the smallest states of America. These people have a fucking shitty worldview when it comes to this overpopulation box or other stuff like that, or decolonization. They use these as all excuses. We've got to look at the problems here, and we've got to look at the fact that white Americans, when they're pushed to the end of their leave, end up identifying themselves in a more European basis than they do an American one. American patriotism is a projected to think for themselves, to keep themselves tied into something that they ain't, because they want to, as much as they can, be that supposedly quote unquote civilized European. That's what they want to always be. They're just as bad as what the Germans were like, where they try and say that they're all different to the British Empire. We're not like that, all this, that, and the other, and they do the exact same fucking thing. America is nothing different to the British Empire. The German Empire was no different to the British either when they tried to rise up in the late 1800s. They would have copied them bit for fucking tattle. We won't be pirates and colonialists, goes and colonizes Southeast Asia and Africa and other places like that. Oh no, we won't be that. We colonizes Middle East. Like these people, because you know, every one of these nations are all full of shit and full of lies, and they're all, you know, colonization is one of the most important things to deal with and pull back on. Like to come to my own issues, we got to look to English colonialism, namely the English colonialism in Wales, Ireland, and still in there, but to a lesser degree, Scotland. Yeah, this was nasty business, especially for Wales and Scotland. I know everyone thinks fucking hears about Wales. Wales went through fucking hell and back too. It's not just Ireland that fucking suffered famine after end because we fucking starved them to death. No, it was Wales too. We fucked them all over. We utterly were obliterating them. Irish people weren't counted as white for a fucking hell of a long time, and Irish people and Welsh people were fucking Bretons. They all come from that old G fucking thing. Irish people moved on and ended up becoming a different Celtic people because of the splits that were caused from all sorts of different issues in time, from the Vikings to the Romans to all sorts of different things in the past. The Celts have had a very hard time. The Anglos, everyone has come in, and Normans too, have caused nasty problems for them, and they've failed to beat the Irish, but they've put them in a position that has defeated them. They've not beat them. The Irish haven't lost, but they are certainly in a defeated state right now. And we need to support the anti-colonialism movement and bring back those movements about. It'd be nice to see the IRA return in force and become a representative of the Irish people's struggle, and they're forced to bring back a freedom there. But it comes to looking at, we've got to look at the past history of these places. Ireland, for all its history, had a lot of freedom struggles, and it was tantamount to its relationship. But we've got to look at this as well. The thing we've got to look at here is Wales is a nation that went through the exact same conditions, and Wales itself is a great example of this. Wales means foreign, essentially, roughly, in Cymric. Like there's an insult that the British slapped onto them. They're actually called Cymru.
Hard-hitting stuff for a second. So he says, "What the fuck?" Or she? I don't know the gender, so just whatever. Whoever this person is, hard-hitting stuff. Thank you for your comments. What the fuck do you mean, Maxwell, by being white, being a social construct? Are you talking about chauvinism, just like they say chauvinism? Okay, so whiteness. Okay, the concept predates the word. Whiteness actually is rooted in the Spanish expulsion of Muslims and Jews, which later informs on 1492 and all this stuff. Whiteness was, in fact, yes, an Anglo term. In fact, there is an actual Anglo-liberalism disease running around. And yes, like, for instance, there's a Jewish American bourgeoisie that's European, and there's a German bourgeoisie, but people forget that they are actually trumped by the Anglo bourgeoisie. That Anglo bourgeoisie completely controls the United States. So the Jewish European bourgeoisie and the German bourgeoisie, yeah, they are very disconnected from like the poor sections of the people that they may try to tap into, but they are not even the top dogs. It's the Anglos. Like, everybody's obsessed with Germany. They don't look at British what is Zionism and Americanism? They're products of British.
Zionism is literally Britain's little pet project. Churchill was even involved in the start of that one.
Exactly. What does what is the United States? The state
it's a product of Britain.
Australia and New Zealand all have in common.
You know what? So the German Empire was a reaction to Britain as well. The Nazis were funded by America and Britain. America started off by Britain, Canada started off by Britain, Australia started off by Britain, New Zealand started off by Britain, South Africa started off by Britain, half of Africa was colonized by Britain, half of fucking Asia was colonized by Britain. Like, people gotta look at this. Like, Britain has fucked most of the world. And another thing, like, they were, Britain was part of the involved with Germany as well. They were influencing all sorts of different nations. They were influencing Russia and China in the 17 and 1800s and trying to turn them into pet projects. Well, Germany didn't come in until the late 1800s, but Britain had been messing around with all these different nations for a long time after their war with Russia, and things had built up. They started to build a relationship with them post-industrialization era. Britain was building up tools in Russia and trying to build a relationship with Russia and colonizing them. After Britain had cucked China in the Opium Wars, they were trying to influence China to be a pet project because China had its own colonial relationships going on. These are things that have happened throughout the long ago history. Britain has fucked with every nation on the world. Every nation that's got these sort of like, and they didn't start it because Spain taught Britain how to do this. Spain really sort of kicked this all off. But Spain was the master teacher. Spain taught France and Britain how to be empires, and they, Spain was sort of the last Roman Empire, if you want to look at them like that. Like they were the last ones that were really like the Romans, where they went around and pillaged and fucked around and wiped out fucking people just to the point of fucking building their own cultural basis and went around collecting gold. Like they were the really sort of like, that's where they died out when capitalism came. They could not handle that. This was one of the biggest proofs that goes to show that the silly idea people have that Rome would have developed capitalism if it hadn't collapsed. Fuck off. Rome was nowhere near, and if it had ever got anywhere near the idea like that, it would collapse. And the feudal excuse for a Roman Empire that was Spain did collapse. It could not handle capitalism. It was a weight on it, and it fell to pieces over a period of 150 years. Now the British and the French empires rose up out of that, and they built their basis off of that cultural idea that come up to it. That's why it's not just about the Romans and that history about that comes to the Roman salute. That also comes from the Spanish Empire too. But it was why all of us Roman salute, from the Russians, Soviets, the Germans, the fucking French, the British, the Americans, or the Americans do the Navy one where you put your hand down to not show your hands dirty to the Queen. I don't know why they're doing that anymore because they don't have a royal anymore, but sure, I guess they're still showing respect to the royals even though they're not in the monarchy. Everyone Roman salutes. So the thing is we've got to look at that. That's a core foundational point that's involved in all of this, and Romanism is a core foundational point to the British imperialism, and British imperialism has spread across the globe and it's infected every nation from Russia to China to America to Canada and all these other nations across the globe. And we got to look to the core point of that, because what we're going to see, in my opinion now, is that Britain, they were historically awful, no doubt about that, absolutely right. And Franco was a fucking absolute joke. You're right on that. But
Godspeed for that, by the way. And I'm we're gonna do our best to explain the bending process to Dr. Weizfeld, which we haven't finished. I have to convene with Jason. The Stone Soviet will have to convene with Jason. Jason's writing the official MRN rule book, and just as promised, we aren't going to force anything on you. We're going to negotiate the youth rules, but there's the universal rules and then there's the youth rules, and not only is there universal rules and youth rules, there's the mainstream rules too. Because like I said, within the mainstream, we're in two camps: the Federation camp and the American Leninism camp. That's not as much a priority in the youth because the youth get to make their decisions. But my kid is very enthusiastic about it. She just joined the militia recently. I'm a 13-year-old that joined the militia. Go figure. See what you've done, Falcone?
You encourage it.
Well, like it's the thing is that I don't believe that if they're not my kids, I can just tell these kids not to do anything. It's more important that if they, like, even if they're going to get in trouble, might as well help make sure that the trouble doesn't destroy them, and then get them out of trouble if they're in trouble. Because like the teenagers rightfully don't know who to trust. I didn't know who to trust as a teenager, and I fucked up mad,
I mean, it comes into one of them. Like you gotta give guidance, but you can't be too. You gotta know when to crack down, but you can't crack down all the time. Otherwise, you end up creating rebellion. But
we didn't tell people this, but when you first approached me, you called me a geezer. And then Conner Gillis, when she helped me figure out how to live stream this stuff, she's like, she's helping this so old man Net could do. Like, oh man.
Wow, man. Like, you think Net sounds like an old man? Oh man, I'm nearly half his age. I think. No, I'm not actually that much. I'm
36. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more than 10 years younger than him. But I speak like I'm fucking act like an old man because I'm an old grumpy cripple. Or fucking when you what 10, what's it? 23 years of being disabled makes you feel like you're fucking 70.
Oh, by the way,
Well, do you know what? Franco might have been in power until 76,
you know what's interesting?
technically. Okay, no. One thing I want to mention about this is Franco might have been like actually in power until 76, but he was an advisor for longer after that. Like, he had a lot of, like, he's Franco didn't just vanish off the map when he stepped down from fucking power. Like, and he's still his influence from his existence, regardless of how much they might, how much the government might hate him, whoever's in power or not. Spanish government is not just like one in party power. It's this block of all these different fucking parties, and it's a mess. Spanish government is always a fucking mess. So when we're to look at this like this, we've got to look at this from this perspective. Francoism is always going to be able to prevail in Spanish government because they are deadlocked all the time, and the only thing that's going to smash that deadlock is fascism. And that culture of fascism has not gone away. Spain has been a husk. Spain is like the Chernobyl of Western Europe, if I'm to use a meme YouTuber I'd heard say this once before. It is, even as a joke, but to be honest, it sort of fills in there. It's the Chernobyl of Western Europe. They're fucked. And there's not me trying to disrespect my Spanish comrades. Like, all respect to you and what you have to go through, but what you had to go through was fascism, and then just sort of being dropped on your head when the fascist leader decided he couldn't be asked anymore.
We will convene about this at some later time. Just like, that's another thing, is like the ones that really are helping Falcone as far as the quote unquote adults. See, I don't like to say that because Falcone is, if I'm coming from a Jewish background, I would consider her more, yeah, she's a kid, but she's a young adult. It's referring to her as a child. I try not to say child. Like, sometimes I'll say child, and I don't mean to be condescending. I'm trying not to be condescending, but like, I
mean,
I will convene with Falcone on this, and maybe Falcone, you can step in at the very end of it, but I don't know if we'll be able to do that. But right
on, Alex, right on.
There's a thing called Guardians in MRM, overseeing MRM youth. The three ones that have met this qualification is myself, Dark Snowy, and Conner Gillis. See, Angelsis works with Falcone, but Angelsis and Falcone are almost like gripey siblings. So they piss each other off and they're fine the next day. But it's not the same kind of thing like when you and Conner Gillis argue. It's more of a, it's hard. It's really hard to explain. It's Maoist siblingness that I cannot explain to you worth anything. It's very similar to what the anarchists go through.
Wait, what?
She is a young adult. She is. My kid's a young adult. In my religion, when a girl's 12, she's a woman, and when a boy's 13, he's a man. They're still kids, but they are adults.
I mean, you go for. I mean, that's sort of like the old school upbringing thing, is that when you reach that age, you have got to start having some independence about yourself. But Falcone, do you understand what the word contradiction is? Because
I know. No, I like. No, I love.
That happens to be a contradiction. I just have to point that out. I'm not trying to be a cunt. I'm being funny, but shit.
No, this is exactly what the advanced Maoists always say. They disagree with third worldism because they're not actually against it.
Well, what's it? If you support it, then you're probably going to be a third worldist rather than a Maoist. There's a difference.
Right, that the Maoists are the closest to the third worldists.
They might be, but I mean, there is a staunch difference, and that's that someone who's a Maoist in the first world, who like what's it? Maoism in the first world itself on its own can't prevail because it's not an ideology that was sort of centered around that. There's a universal platform, but it needed that advancement of third worldism because it was missing something that could connect it and universalize it to the first world. Now, People's War on a global basis is the project for pushing that forward, and comes into the point of that, like, and that is a multipolar position.
See, the most advanced.
Yeah, I know that's what you meant, but that's what I mean. You said I'm going to say that I disagree with it because I'm not against it, which it just sounds funny to me.
I just thought it was funny because like Engels says, yeah, all third worldists, even the ones like Romero that are MLs are still just Maoists. But hey, that means you're acknowledged by but that's the advanced Maoists. The advanced Maoists are trying to look at a world revolution because that's always what the Maoists have wanted, was a world revolution. Why do you think that they're growing a relationship with the anarchists? Now, it's funny because The most fascinating thing I've seen with the Maoists and anarchists is they love to argue with each other. They live for arguing with each other. It's like this
Oh my,
dialect
that's just fucking Maoist. That is, oh my god, like fucking argumentative old cunts, including myself.
Well, it's funny because like not all third worldists come in through Maoism. Some of them come through Marxism, Leninism instead. And in the third
I got to third worldism before I got to Maoism. I was a Marxist Leninist, and I got to the third worldism watching Jason, and then I jumped to the Maoism a lot later.
I believe that well, okay, People's War in the First World is technically legal in terms of this. If we went out and tried to storm the Capitol, it's not going to fucking work. Yeah, of
course.
But
People's War, just innately, just saying People's War is universal is not so much a trick as easy as that, because it is, but it's global People's War, it's universal, which means it's very, very much going to be different struggles and different fronts, and they're going to change as things go on. With dialectical materialists, we're empiricists, so we should be flowing with the way in which the fucking grain drops. That's why I don't like what a lot of Maoists like to hold on to the sort of Mao definition of People's War. It's so restricted to this specific, we go and run into the countryside and do this in-out struggle. And it's like, no, that's a good argument for the third world's front line of people struggle, but we've got to build up, before you say this, I was just going to say, we've got to build up a people struggle line that fits to the different areas of the globe, and not all of them are going to be grabbing arms and going to the countryside. Some of them are going to be building up food shelters and homeless shelters and making sure that we've got places for people to squat, working with the anarchists and stuff like that. It's a multipolar movement, not just on the different sort of tendencies that might be working together, but in the different areas of the world, the class divide. We've got to, it's international intercommunalism. We've got to bring everything together.
To answer this question, is Africa the front line in third worldism? I see a lot. Okay, it's the third world that's the front line. It's the third world and the third world as a whole in the third world, with respect to the differences of the various regions that make up the third world. So like, we don't necessarily treat the global South like the Middle East, but third world has both the demarcus and even a lot of Maoists, as well as the most enlightened MLs, and of course, the really smart anarchists that understand the streets in the first world. There is a consensus. This is what's happened. The global class divide theory was proven, but that's not exactly third worldism. It's just that the third world saved that theory, and they've always said it came from the MLM, but it was the third world that saved that theory. Now switch up today, real MLMs started showing their face in both the first world and the third world.
But you know what though, like the point is that I've got to absolutely like praise the point you pointed out there, Robert. You have to look into the truth of this, because North Korea, they are the only ones that, like, out of any nation in the world, like an actual solid state nation that's properly helping the people of Africa in any way, would be North Korea, and they help. They're one of Egypt's biggest trading partners, and they're always working with countries like Egypt and other places like that. They were a big supporter of NASA. They were a supporter of Gaddafi in his early years, and even supported him against NATO when everything was going on there. This isn't Africa, but it steps up to the North Koreans' position. They help send military aid to the Syrians, involving weaponry and training and other bits and pieces like that. Like, the DPRK are always willing to help anyone and everyone out in the third world when it comes to the problems of which they're facing, and put their help there. And it's a part of their ideology, because Juche, as a motion, it's foreign policy and the way in which it looks at, like, not just revolution but anti-imperialism and end to imperialism, and bringing a front to that, because it's a very important part of the Juche movement, is that you are to bring an end to you've got to bring an end to these empires, and the only way you're going to do that is through third world. The only way you're going to do that is by third world struggle. And China seems to exploit them all the time, but fucking selective criticism of imperialism, I guess.
I disagree with this. I think I'm still going to disagree with you on that, Falcone. I actually have taken the DPRK pill.
I think you need to, like, look a little deeper than that, because you can't just turn around and say, because you know what's funny, the position. So the article I was shown to turn around and say that the Juche Aram said, I'm not going to talk about any of the political ideas that are actually being held by these two factions. What? That's very important. You're not going to talk about whether one has fucking the good idea or the bad idea, because that is very important. I need to know what they believe. I can't just say, oh, well, one wrong the other, because do you know what? If the one's a shithead, they deserve to be wronged. I couldn't care if it was democratic or not. Fuck off. Like, what one's fucking, what could be absolute fucking hellfire to them. They could be left fucking chauvinist, or the other one could be opportunist. I don't know. I can't just have some word of someone who isn't from fucking Korea themselves telling me how to fucking dictate that. The DPRK has just been read by the right opportunists all the way down. They don't agree with class struggle, even though their symbol is literally a representation of class struggle.
I think another thing I want to point out is that I know these Cuban Maoists, for instance, and they do not have a sectarian view of the Cuban Trotskyists or the Cuban anarchists or the Cuban Marxist-Leninists. And I think that this gets into the difference that I agree with the Engels, is that there is a serious difference between third worlder Trotskyists and first worlder Trotskyists. First worlder Trotskyists, on an individual basis, it's different each time. But as groups go, first world Trotskyists are very misinformative. They almost have pseudo-fascist tendencies. Like, they're very corporatist-minded, first worldist-minded, very projectionist, I've noticed.
Shitheads, to put it in lumpen terminology.
And they've become very angry with Bundists and Maoists because Bundists and Maoists took Trotsky away from them.
I mean, the problem is that this is a problem amongst all of everyone here, there, and everywhere, from Maoist to Bundist to here and everywhere. Everyone wants these fucking leaders to latch onto. I know it's lovely, it's nice, it's great, we can lick everyone's bumholes out, but we get so caught up in leaders that it doesn't even seem like people are liking them because they've made good ideas anymore. It's just they're liking them because it's easy to cheer on here, there, and everywhere, cheer about people who, to the point who've even done genocidal stuff. But, like, you know, this is where they end up people missing the good guys, because, you know, why is anyone cheering on about Gramsci? Because Gramsci isn't an easy leader to go here, there, and everywhere. He's not some fucking Chad lad to go talk about.
Like Huey Newton.
Yeah, Franz Fanon as well, but when it comes to that, but this is one of the things that pranks me out, is because everyone wants to lick ass these, like, revolutionary fucking idealist, like, they're not idealists themselves, but this idealistic image of these revolutionaries that have existed, that they miss out on the fucking ideas definitely trump leaders. And this is what it comes into, is that if they look at, it seems like they're looking at leaders before ideas, because if they were looking at ideas first, they would be looking at Gramsci and not looking just for big leaders that they can shape themselves around. Because at the end of the day, why the fuck do we have to defend people that have shit ideas and not look out for the people that do have good ideas? And Gramsci is a very important one, because it's where my position on the aristocracy comes from. That's where everyone's position on the aristocracy should come from. The aristocracy is a threat, and that is what Gramsci very much important put into the field and situations, that they cannot be trusted with the reins of revolutionary struggle, otherwise they will burn it into the ground.
I'm not going to highlight any of the comments on Vietnam. I'm just going to state, like I already did one. I am very sympathetic to Vietnam. Vietnam is not in a good position. There are a lot of socialists, both in the civil society and the government, and they don't necessarily like the market for reforms, but this is the point where MLM was correct. The problem is people take it too far, say, oh, there's no socialism left. It's not that there's no socialism left. The process, the revolutionary process that keeps socialism, was destroyed.
I mean,
socialism has, like, I'm going to give the Demarchist definition of socialism, and then you can give the scientific socialist definition of socialism.
I mean, to be honest, though,
let me explain the Demarchist definition. There are two factors that must exist in socialism. If these two factors do not exist, it's technically not socialism. One is the equilibrium factor, one is the mere crack factor. Now, the mere crack factor, I'm talking about that your labor value shouldn't be robbed, like surplus value being ripped off should be ended. That's a one problem. So your labor shouldn't be taxed by bosses, basically. And that's not very dialectical, I understand, but you're getting, this is how I break it down to common people, because it's a thing we do. Then the other one, like the equilibrium factors, it's not just free healthcare. Everyone's entitled to housing. Everyone's entitled to the shit Gaddafi was telling people that they were actually deserving of. Everyone deserves a house. Everyone deserves warm water. Everyone deserves communication. Everyone deserves community. Everyone deserves to be a permanent member of society, and for people to we should aim for direct democracy as an end game. Although there is a dispute between Marxists, demarchists, and anarchists as what that transitional process is. I mean, Marxists speak of the proletarian state. Anarchists speak about the federated anarch. Demarchists, we like the third worlds, don't think that there's one soup, but we do prefer an advanced version of Jaha Maria. And instead of mutualism by the proto-anarchists, Dr. Weizfeld did come up with demarcho-mutualism in the same way where Dona Newman ripped Trotsky from his context and put it into a different context. Because that's what we do. We do that shit. We do it on purpose because it works. It's like, to me, Trotsky's ideas should have been written for Egypt, not for Europe. Because Egypt is the one that keeps having a revolution repeatedly. And if we were to move past Hafni rely alliances with Assad, we need to look at why does Egypt keep having a revolution. The answer is Nasser. You can't bleed the Arab people from their heritage. It's not fucking possible.
Mm.
But in order, by the way, Falcone, if you ever want to be deputized by the federated MLM cadres, you can't keep making videos called "They're Not Your Friend." I know why you're doing it, kid. I get it. I applaud your rim logic, but
I don't.
I know Black Red Guard does a similar thing. It's like, I'm running on the Kill All Settlers platform. I love it when Black Mexican people and all that do that because they're totally justified for it. The problem is nobody knows what that means. Jason's got a point. Nobody even remembers what Kill Whitey meant. It was an anti-Wall Street statement. It was a real anti-colonial fucking thing that emerged in the 60s and 70s. People realized, like, oh, wait, But
indeed. But I mean, it comes to that.
Listen, Falcone, I believe in you, and I believe you have the ability to synthesize. You may one day find yourself synthesizing Duce not Duceism, but Duce ideology with certain things that Peruvian communists said and certain things that the Naxal said. You might be surprised what you might conclude as time goes by to your own conditions. Because we know what she would do. She'd arm all the Mexican lumpen. She would do it on purpose. She says, hey, you know that Mexican is a misnomer because technically it's Mexica and technically we're Aztecs and Mayans and all these other things. I could see Falcone breaking the barrier. I could see it happening.
Okay, but so one thing I want to get into in the chat is, okay, market socialism is not having billionaires, and Vietnam actually has billionaires, so there's not just simply market socialism. That is definitely a restoration of capitalism. Like, I understand why you would want it to be like that. Vietnam put a lot of filiation into this, but here's the thing to know about Vietnamese history is when they tried to implement planned economy after going through not just the war with the French, not just the war with the Japanese, not just the war with the French again, not just the war with the Americans, not just the war, with the Chinese. They went to war with the Cambodians and liberated them too. They have been destroyed. They were diffused. When they went to build planned economy, it fell through its arsehole, not because planned economy couldn't survive, but because Vietnam was absolutely screaming. It was struggling. It had been under all this weight, and the biggest nation that called itself a socialist next to it fucking hated its guts and wanted to invade it before and will invade it again. So they were terrified and struggling, and they capitulated backwards. They fucked up. They revised back towards capitalism. Cuba is actually getting into a similar position now because of the way the American sanctions have beaten them into the ground. And anyone that tries to attack Cuba without understanding that first needs to think again about it, because the Cuban people are not liking this, and you've got to get behind them Cuban people.
Wait for Jason's ultimatums on these things, because these ultimatums will make it safer for us to have these conversations. By the way, Conner Gillis has already said, by the way, all she wanted to say about China. She kind of doesn't want to dive into it anymore.
I'm not talking about China. I'm talking about DPRK in Vietnam.
No, see, but this is all the parts we're talking about, the Marxist states, because that's what Jason.
It doesn't matter. Like, well, I shouldn't have to keep quiet just because fucking some people have insecurities that they need to deal with.
Listen. I told you about
the truth is the truth. I'm just talking about it as it is. The truth is the truth.
We need it. The problem is we have not even dived into Palestine. This is what's starting to get really aggravating. This year should have been the year of Free Palestine, just as last year was Black Lives Matter.
I have dived into Palestine. I have a whole fucking protest on my channel. I have dived into Palestine.
And that piece of shit Biden in office. It's like BreadTube is in the fucking White House. Radical liberalism is fucking here, dude. and it's not doing anything about, like, the police force has been tripled. I swear, this guy sniffs girls' hair and he's brain dead. He's like a crypto pedo in the White House who's obviously under the control of Kamala Harris. I'm sorry, but fuck this dude. Fuck the rat lips, man. It's like, this is a serious problem we're having. This is the censorship on steroids, and we're gonna have to fight this. And we can get Dr. Weizfeld to understand a lot of things, but, like, I'm talking about the fact that it's not that we have to be oversensitive about when debating whether the Marxist states are still socialist or not. We don't have to be. It's that we've got to understand that shit. This is where Falcone does have a streak of righteousness. It's over. We lost. And it's if we realize it's over, we can pick it up again and say, okay, well, maybe it's not over.
Well, exactly the point I'm trying to fucking make. That's exactly the point I'm trying to fucking make, and that you're stopping me from making. Because that would point out that it's over for fucking China. There we go, the fucking thing's out. Because I'm sick of that. Okay, so Falcone can say it's over, we lost. Exactly. Well, that's the point I'm fucking making. But I'm trying to break it down and be respectful to the different places. Because I know the history. Especially when it comes to... I've spoken to Jason on Vietnam before. And I was going to go on about Cuba. And I was going to go on about the DPRK. I'm talking about the third world, the small nations. China is its own shit state.
What I've learned about Cuba recently? I've learned some very interesting, chilling news.
I've heard some horrible things over the last few months.
So as we know, the actual Cuban population is not going around saying, America, save us from the Venezuelans. None of that shit's happening. All right, I'm talking about these Cuban youth, like, they love Castro and they love Che, and they're very upset with the market economy in Cuba. But they're afraid that BreadTube is going to, like, see, look, let's point out some Bosch hypocrisy for a second. This is typical hypocrisy. Down with you, Caleb Moppin. You like China because, which is a capitalist imperialist country, and so not down with market socialism. Bosch, you sound like an idiot. You sound like an idiot. Okay, you're preaching market socialism, which looks just like the shit you're tearing down. And this is where we're at now. We're at that shit where we're making these little mental masturbation debates, and this is why I don't believe we should. I don't believe in Trav, and for instance, and no, I do believe in Trav, but I don't believe in him and leftism. And I told leftism this. I don't believe in you guys going after Bosch anymore. Here's something that
it's not worth our time.
It's not worth it. I think Deadman. This is where Deadman had the strongest point. We should stop fucking debating the far right.
Well,
it doesn't work.
There've been people who've at that point, like longer ago before that, I've been saying that myself. It's been stupid. These people are fucking one-trick ponies. It's just the same shit. You just need to dissertate them and move on. They're not worth our time. They're jokes. Not people in the real world don't. You say Bosch, you say who? What? What the fuck you want about? What about a shop?
One reason why I say Cuba has a measure of socialism, although it's questionable if their economy still fits that rolls with all the terrible market reforms. The people want socialism. It's engraved in their belief system. The problem is they will fight, but they'll fight in protest. They need to get back to the guerrilla mentality. And unfortunately, that might take more fear of the United States. And I don't like to talk like that. I'm just saying that when you talk about the material reality of what we're at, capitalism is going to kill us. Climate change is killing us. Imperialism has reached that globalism phase. We're seeing and here's what I do agree with Dona Newman on. If we took out Americanism, Zionism, no, it wouldn't destroy imperialism, but it would get rid of this globalist phase. And if we were back at, I'm not cheering another world war. I'm saying that we got to stop trying to prevent what's already happening. We got to meet it.
Do you know what? I'm the and this isn't me. This is not Net's opinions. This is just mine. But I'm the guy who will say the hardest stuff. There kind of does need to be one. Okay, there does need to kind of be another world war, right? I'm gonna fucking outright say it because here's the fucking thing. When is the most revolutionary struggles ever happened in history? Franco-Prussian War, World War One, fucking Mongolian war during the Russian Civil War when they had their revolutionary struggle. Which was not really the Russian Civil War. It's more the invasion of Russia from loads of different fucking countries coming together. World War II, the Cold War, these contentions of imperialist powers. So do you know what? Yes, US and China, they do need to butt heads somewhere. That is going to happen. It needs to come together. And it needs to be not just US and China, the US, China, EU, UK. If they're all going to start doing their inter-imperialist rivalries, brilliant. Let them clash. Let them fucking argue, because that is what breeds revolutionary struggles. The friction between inter-imperialist powers is the most revolutionary times in history across the globe. First, third, and second world, across the fucking globe.
Do you I want to know if like as I've been trying to convey this to the public a bit here. You agree with me. We're gonna do everything, and I hope Falcone's listening. We're gonna do everything to make sure Mason Steiner should hear that. Yeah, you want drinking with the Marxists. Falcone is your partner here. Like, not Falcone. Sorry, like that's sorry, Conner Gillis. But I want Falcone to help vouch for this because I talked to Jason. Jason agreed because Mason's trying to do this thing called drinking with the Marxists, and I don't know the history the way that Mason and Jason and Pride Tunes knows this, but there was this guy in Japan who was a Marxist, and he used to do drinking with the Marxists. And so I quit drinking. And see, Mason knows how to get to my lumpen sentiments. When I was drinking Steel Reserve 211. Mason once drunk a whole Steel Reserve in front of me. He's like, I know where your culture really comes from. I may not know everything about the Southwest, but I know what the lumpen proletariat in the Southwest drink. I was like, no, you don't. He pulls out a 211. I'm like, damn it. That's me and Mason, bro. I'm like, damn it. How did you know this?
He's cheating.
Well, but that's where Conner Gillis should be. Like, look, think about it. So, the Trav has a co-host. It's Leftist of the Day, which I agree with this move. You're my co-host.
Yes.
Jason gets 3 co-hosts. He's got me, he's got Trav, and he's got Red Scare, right? But Red Scare should have Conner Gillis as a co-host. Definitely. We need to push this. Because like all those that work in with all 3 teams within the American Leninism camp, whether we're talking about Team Danke, which includes his party and FEK, whether we're talking about Team Trav, which includes Leftism Today, or whether we're talking about Team Red Scare, which definitely includes Conner Gillis, and I would say to some level does include Danke and Trav. See, the funny thing about Team Red Scare is it crosses over into the other American MLs.
Team Jetska.
Well, as I told you, he wants line struggle within the radical MLs against the dogmatists. He's joining us for the Antifa and Revolution.
Irony.
And Danke's getting very radical. Like I don't know if you watched him lately, but he's pushing for unity with the Maoists. Like that, his ML party allows the Maoists in. They want to work with all these organizations, and they're talking. He did a whole dissertation against the 4th of July.
That's good.
Yeah. If people want to see that, I corresponded a little bit with Danke. Danke's a solid dude.
I've never spoke to him, so I wouldn't know. Sounds like Donkey Kong.
There's a British princess in pink, and Donkey Kong did us the justice by throwing the wheelbarrows at the bourgeoisie. We forgot this. We forgot the path of the far left appropriating, the slogans for our to suit the needs of, a world proletarian culture against, first world injustice. This is a thing now. We're going to do this. We have to do this. Besides, if we don't, it won't be funny. And we need to be funny about this because, unfortunately, spectacle rules the day. So what happens when spectacle is telling the truth?
Spectacle can tell the truth, but
it's a challenge. But like, throw the truth in every spectacle you find. It disrupts. But like, the problem is I don't encourage you doing this on the Bosch stream because people have lost their channels in 5 minutes just by going up to Bosch and challenging him. There is something very suspicious about Bosch.
What's it? I probably end up just calling him a pedophile because he is wrong.
This is something else I wanted to say. For everybody that's upset that Jason Unruh and Caleb Maupin did split or didn't split, there was no split because they were never politically aligned per se. Rather, they had problems with the same machine and they have associated with each other. It's a bit not tactical to go to challenge all the populists right now because consider this. And this is where we are more trusted to criticize Jason on this. Jason should have actually challenged Caleb Maupin a long time ago. That's what a lot of us said, but I said to the audience, and because I know that you were part of, you're like Pride Tunes. You go back in Jason's audience actually, like real actual support of what Maoist Rebel News represents, right? Well, like him, what my complaint was, where were you guys when Jason was getting isolated? Now I'm not slapping you, like I just want you to reply, because now things are getting serious. Yeah,
Well, I don't.
I'm not slapping you in that way. I'm just like thinking we've had this conversation. We're kind of like self-auditing so people know what our concerns
Yeah,
are.
I mean, I know where I've been all over the place, and I've been about or not about, but it's, I've only been a communist for 6 years. There's a lot of people who've been watching Jason for the, what, 12, 13 years he's been doing videos now, so a lot of people could have got more involved and could have built up this movement more with them. And when Jason was in much better health, I know a lot of the old fans of Jason who might be here might have seen how much healthier Jason used to seem back in the day compared to how he is now.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people have no clue just how much that actually did have to do with Rain, and how Rain deliberately kept him away from the trans community, and they popped up gender warriors. They ignored the lumpen trans people, which actually have some of the most nightmarish conditions in Arizona, Texas, Nevada. Holy shit! Nobody wants to be trans in Nevada.
Yeah, coming out against Rain was one of the most important things for Jason because it allowed him to actually first put his actual perspective on, like, and not his full understanding of it all, just his actual perspective on, like, trans people themselves and his respect to them. And it's always been, and this is one of the things I've always hated. Now, Jason is an old dad, and he's got his own respectful ideas, and this way he doesn't let them drive anything because he knows he's wrong, or at least knows that he's probably not got the best idea around it because he's not trans. What he's always said and what he believes is that you should listen to the trans people, not go about yourself fucking trying to say that they are this or they are that, or we should follow this or follow that. What Jason will try and dissertate and complicate with is their SJW issue and the people that are utilizing this for some pretty shitty ideas. Now, Jason's had some actual worse ideas longer ago in his past, but this was a newer phenomenon to him at that point. I know it's not been a new phenomenon, but do you know what? A lot of us, that I learned afterwards, that there's been a trans movement going on for a fucking long time, especially like strongly since the LGBT movement was really strongly in the 70s onwards. So, it's been for a long time. I never heard about any of this shit really until 2012, I think, 2013, and I never really bothered to actually properly consider it until I was a communist. So it's sort of one of them things where it's completely locked away from a lot of people until a lot longer years in life. And Jason's 40 now, so he took it. It's good that his position come round and he actually opened his eyes to it, and he wants to listen to the trans people and not have his head stuck in the clouds.
Well, he never hated them. That's the funny part. He never hated them, or was never actually afraid of them. It's like right now everybody's onto the gender warriors. They actually censor like actual trans struggles, like the real ones, because they need an internal conflict. Because like if you listen to Falcone, for instance, or let's say the Black Internationalists, they don't hide that they're trans. They're not ashamed of that, but they're more involved in their national liberation struggles and their connection to the lumpen proletariat. That's more where they're coming from, and that's what I think BreadTube is trying to stop. The Radlibs want to make everything about, hey, the third world has a lot of people with patriarchal views and Muslims. You got to stop them Islams, and you gotta turn them into LGBT superheroes. And guess what? You're basically taking the struggles of something, and you're using it against a population that may not fully understand, that isn't necessarily in the same urbanized conditions where trans people typically emerge. And I'm not saying trans people exclusively come from the urban. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that that's usually one of the common manifestations. So I think it's because in the urban, that's when gender gets questioned the quickest.
Well, it's more so, it's more so about this. It's not about whether it's questioned the quickest or not, because, I mean, to be honest, like, there's a point to that, and the point to that is not so much about whether it's just questioned the quickest, it's also questioned the slowest, and it's answered the quickest in the first in the lumpen, like in the working class. Like, you answer quicker because you've got to, and in the lumpen they eventually get a way to dissociate and dissociate because you eventually stop caring, but you put yourself at danger. So it's a hit or miss one with that one. But the proletariat, we'll go from that angle. So it's not just about this. So when you've got to survive, you've got to break your back, you could be killed for your issues. You've got to work your ass off in jobs that you might not get if you appeal to this. You might lose family. You might get thrown out by your family. You might even have a family who's fascist enough that they'll fucking kill you if you're like that. That can happen, especially in America. So the thing is that being in the lower class and being trans, you will just end up bottling it up. You won't express it because your family will hate you, your friends will hate you, the police might fucking kill you, people around you might kill you. You might fucking it's a million and one different things that go wrong with the people that are in the lower class that the people in the fucking labor aristocracy don't have to fucking deal with in their life. And it's people like Rain that end up blocking Jason from speaking to the same people that they're blocking everyone from speaking to because they block these trans people from speaking to. The lump and the lower class trans are the most disgusting things ever. And it goes to show this big break between the labor aristocracy and the lumpen and how they function, trans or not.
Yes. Now I'm trying to think of how to work Falcone in here because we can't take up this entire stream to. Well, I mean, like not entire stream because we can't make this go on forever because I want Dr. Weizfeld to see this kind of as a testimony. So like, give me a second here because I realize I might have to kind of make you a mod. Maybe I just don't know how to fucking do that. You know what's sad? You know what's sad, bro? Falcone knows exactly how to do that. Kids. Freaking kids know shit that I don't know, and it's embarrassing.
I don't know anything anymore. I give up on knowledge a long time ago. I just do the big stupid now.
I have no fucking clue how to make you a mod, dude.
Maybe right click on me.
Do I through StreamYard or do I do this through?
No, I mean like literally just right click on me in StreamYard. Just right click on me and see what happens.
What is your agenda if I put this link today? Because I might have you on here, but I'm not sure if I can. So what's your agenda with me doing that? Does this help make people into a mod? You know what?
Yeah, no, I think so. Maybe I'm just saying, like, right click on me and see if a menu comes up or something.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do you both a very big solid. I am gonna bring Falcone on. I'm gonna go have a secret. I'm gonna let you two have it out. How the hell to help old men? Because I am sorry. Like the fact of the matter is, when Dr. Weizfeld, who's in his early 70s, he may not understand all the stream shit, but when he understands more technical crap than I do, I know that, oh man, I'm so far behind all this technology. It's bad, bro. My kid knows shit. Man,
I'm no good with technology myself either. Like, it's fucking. I used to be pre-2011, where everything past there it got complicated. So they changed the policy and then let everyone know.
Damn it. I don't want people clicking on this. There you go, Falcone. There you go.
Oh, no, you idiot. You shouldn't post it in the chat.
The link then. I got it. Do you have the link?
Delete it now.
Remove my own link because it says block user, put user in timeout, put myself in timeout, block. Can't this thing just let me? Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to go on mute, have a cigarette. I'm going to let you guys discuss this thing. And you get the opportunity to express your stuff to Dr. Weizfeld. He will be happy to know that Jason was proud that you adopted the Mexica movement slang. We are not Latino. We are not Hispanic. Comrade number 3 salutes you. All right, I'm going to go on mute. I'm going to let you guys talk. Is Falcone, can we hear her?
No.
Why can't we hear Falcone? Is she not in the stream?
I don't know. Maybe she, because I heard that to be lumpen you have to do meth. Maybe she become lumpen and she's just going down to the government to go pick up a meth pipe. You know, I heard this from some.
No, do not encourage meth. We fight the narcotics. Don't say
I'm not encouraging it. I'm saying what the aristocrats think because I was told that all lumpen people, like all lumpen people, are just meth addicts and meth dealers. Yeah, like I guess that's the lumpen economy. Like there's some that are meth addicts and some that are meth dealers.
She was here and I could hear her briefly, and then she disappeared.
Yeah, I know, because she thought that we couldn't hear her, so she just decided to leave, as if that was actually how it works.
Can you guys hear me?
No.
Yeah, all right, Comrade Net is going on mute. Comrade Net is going on mute, and you can express yourself.
Net.
Yeah.
This is how you make me a mod. Okay, go on YouTube. Go on the YouTube chat, not from StreamYard. Go on the YouTube chat. Click on my profile.
Okay, hold on.
And it says add mod. There's a part where it says.
Okay. All right.
Do you see it, Nat?
Yeah. Okay. So, it says to say something. Create poll, emojis, hide chat.
No.
Participations.
Click on click on my thing. Click on like one of my chats, like one of my comments that I put on there.
On
on the
okay. On the StreamYard or on the YouTube?
YouTube.
On YouTube.
Okay, so I'm pressing on you, but it's not doing anything. That's weird. Press it. That's
Click.
Weird. Click.
You're
What am I
supposed to
clicking?
On my name.
All right.
Click
It
on
says
my
pin
name.
message, report, remove, put user, add moderator.
Add moderator. Click the add
Okay.
moderator thing.
All right. Now I need Stone to type something in chat. I need my co-host to type something in chat.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'll type something in the chat then so you can add me as a mod. You need to send me the link to the video. Actually, I'll just go onto your channel, it'll be easy to do that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, actually, do that. I have it in there, bro. I have it in there.
I was also gonna say this. I was gonna give like what happened with MRN Youth as well.
Yeah, yes,
So
but let's Stone type in chat first so I can make him mod, and then I'll go on mute and I'll let you guys talk.
Okay.
Oh, every time I type in net, it doesn't come up with you even I'm subscribed to. I have to type in ComRedNet separately. Censorship, much.
Yeah, I know. That's
Well,
why I
I mean,
joined.
I don't like things derailed, but the problem that all three of us have is we all like to talk.
You know, the other thing I also did is this. I joined a decentralized platform. I joined Telegram.
Stone, write in chat. Write something in chat, bro.
Just say hey or something, whatever.
Write something like down with the labor aristocrats or something, like or third world bitches or something. Or yeah,
say
off
with the pigs. Off with the pigs.
It's too late. It's too late. It's too late. I've gone with the most radical choice.
Okay, perfect.
Punis.
Okay. Oh, by the way, that's the name of your YouTube channel is the Crippled Communist.
Maybe. Dark smudge.
And if Conner Gillis was here, I'd make her a moderator too, because Conner Gillis definitely works with me. But she's been busy.
Well, I believe she would be sleeping right now, so because it's almost 12 a.m. at my time. So
it's 4 a.m. and it's fucking 18 degrees.
What I'm going to do now, comrades,
Celsius.
is I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to let you guys talk. And you're both mods, and when Conner Gillis goes around, we'll talk about making her a mod. But like, I'm going to go on mute and have a cigarette while you guys talk, and you can explain to Dr. Weizfeld that let me just debrief it a little bit. Falcone General is a 14-year-old trans woman, and she is also an indigenous Mexican. Also friends with my older child, my older child, Dr. Weizfeld, and my old child has joined our militia, and our old child will also be joining MRN Youth when she turns 14. Now, take it away, Comrade Stone, Dan the Falcone General, and I'm going to smoke a cancer stick.
Can I, want me to start off with what happened with MRN Youth, if you want to hear my story or no?
Let Stone kind of guide it, because he's my co-host, but, you are...
Oh, yeah, go into that, go into that.
This is not a censorship campaign. Speak your mind, kid.
Oh, no, go into that. Get on into that stuff.
People kind of had, like, some misconception, like, Maxwell thought it was because, like, basically he actually was a member of MRN Youth. He was actually somebody who tried to join MRN Youth. So, a member of mine, his name was Lucas Ryan. So, this had to do with, like, the country server community. If you don't know what it is, like, you guys can make like a Discord server and make it into like a fake country or something like that. Like, for example, a Democratic People's Republic of Yorkshire, whatever the fuck. But so my friend, who's also a member of MRN Youth, and he's also helping me with the alliance with Danky King's party. So he basically banned this guy named Tiger Mink, aka Liam. I'm just gonna call him Liam from his server, and he says like because he's like a pedo. And then I asked like, why was he banned? And then he told me that he sexually harassed a 14-year-old girl.
Ooh.
And he told me to block him, and also I blocked him on Skype. Before that, I linked him to my Skype profile pic. So not profile pic, Skype profile. so he can DM me and actually answer the vetting questions. He said only hey, and he never even actually answered any of the vetting questions. So basically, if you don't answer the vetting questions, you don't become a member of MR. You do not become a member of MRN Youth, and also if your application is not approved by me, you're not a member of MRN Youth. So he would refuse to do that. So then I find out about this, so I block him immediately from Discord and from Skype. And then next we basically start going on a full-on burn notice, basically DMing mods from our servers like Finbull server to ban this guy. We also got the communist library to do it, and other Discord servers as well to ban this guy. Basically, then I also had to open an investigation and had to set back a few things due to this situation. So now I'm going to have to be talking to a literal victim about this. And actually, he had 2 victims. The 14-year-old girl is off of Discord, but there was another one whose name is like Comrade Helen, and basically he sexually harassed her. I'm not going to go into the details because it's just disgusting and it would want to make you throw up. So, but the other, yeah, and the other thing is this: he was also somebody who wanted to fuck animals.
Oh, well, there's no fucking surprise there. You always end up finding this weird link between the paedophile community and the furry community. Oh, God.
Yeah, he said he's a Marxist-Leninist Maoist furry.
God, no. I bet he's into fucking
banned him
bronies.
From their server. Basically, you know the Maoist Lounge or no? That's a Gonzaloid server.
I don't know it, but no surprise.
But yeah, they had to ban him. They were the second server to ban him. Then it was the World People's USSR, which kind of the funny way they banned him was basically giving him an execution trial. But yeah,
that's a meme level of laugh. It's almost funny enough that it's acceptable.
And the leader was basically a Kenyan Maoist.
Oh, no.
Whose name on Discord is Joseph V. Stalin. So, yeah, basically, we basically did a whole burn notice of this guy as well. And the other thing is this: we were planning to also do a live stream, and basically, the member from MRNU, I'm just gonna call him Comrade Lucas. Comrade Lucas, we had a call yesterday. And basically, he informed me of like all the weird ass shit.
Okay, so before you go on, I know the Kenyan comrade you're on about because he's the Kenyan comrade that I like to inform people about. That a lot of my positions, like, I'm not going to go into them now because we'll try not to cause any trouble. A lot of the positions that I have surrounding China actually come from that Kenyan comrade. He's a fucking legend. African Stalin, some people might know him as African Stalin.
Yeah, pardon? That's African Stalin.
Yeah, he was. People from Finballs probably know him. Like, he's a he's a polite and timid fellow to the most degree, but he will absolutely slam you and slam all of us. He's proved me wrong on so many stuff around the Soviet Union. He's got a great head on him. I mean, it goes to show you one of them things. As someone pointed out earlier, Africa is one of the most sort of like revolutionary parts of the world right now, and like his ideas and the way he looks at things is a great show of that. Like, he's a fucking well-venerated comrade. I got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
And he's working class as well. Like, he's not just some African, like some Kenyan comrade. Like, he's not just a true comrade, he's a working class Kenyan comrade going through the businesses. It was one of the things me and him connected on. I saw in his lumpiness that me and him were both like, we both had about the same generation of phones. We were just having like a nice little sort of like love, like it was a really heartwarming exchange between us, sort of going on about how crappy our phones were. He wins by far, trust me, like, because he's in a shit position, but like, it was a nice little reflection on things, because we were both in, he's in a worse position than me, but we were both in that sort of relatable economic position where we can relate and get things across like that. I can hear foxes fucking outside my window.
Yeah, as well as basically we were all like going around every Discord server We went to the People's Republic of China server and we were like spamming, like adding the mods every single time, basically during that day, and like saying, ban this guy immediately, now, because they were not fucking active. So we basically made them, like, we basically told them to get the fuck back online, or you'll have the image of harboring pedos. We basically did like a whole burn notice, and we were like telling every server to do this. Even some servers waited until like the next day to ban the guy, which is just
yes.
crazy. Like almost the next day, like 11 p.m. or something like that.
When it takes you nearly 24 hours to figure out that maybe, I don't know, you should maybe kick the pedophile. I don't know, might be a good idea.
Yeah, it was crazy. It took my friend Lucas, Comrade Lucas, a week to find out about all this stuff, because literally he was shocked and he feels like super bad about the situation. So basically he was like, okay, I have to expose this guy because we must never let this ever happen again. And basically he's like a whole stain to the Marxism, Leninism, Maoism. Not the first that I've seen on Discord. This is the second. Oh, here's the other
It won't
thing.
be the last. It won't be the last.
Yeah, that's true. Won't be the last. The
Marxism in general is disappointing on Discord.
Oh my god, yeah. No wonder why. And also, good news is that since Marxism on Discord is shit, we have some Gonzalez YouTubers who are retiring from internet leftism.
They should just retire in general.
True. Oh my god, I remember this like one guy, his name was Equinox or some shit like that, or Mouse.
Oh god.
I can't stand the guy.
He's fucking who was this other geezer as well? I can't remember the name of, and he got really prominent in Finball's server at one point before you were around. Like it was probably about a year before you started coming about, and he it might be the same geezer, I'm not too sure, but I think it was someone else. It's either Equinox or someone else. It might have been someone else, but this cunt, like, he got really high up and he was just being a cunt, but he wasn't doing like actual Maoism. He was just wrecking. He's just wrecking and going on about how everyone needs to start reading from Mao first, and it's like, okay, that does not sound like a Maoist. I've never known any Maoist that turns around and goes, you guys just need to read Mao.
That makes no sense, because literally, like, dog, you have to go through Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, then Mao, and then a bunch of other minor.
Story might not be a bad idea. That might be interesting. I think Net has something to say.
Do you guys want to hear a story? We will have to wrap up soon. All
right. So I take it that we've explained everything to Dr. Weizfeld about this, because like this situation gets more and more complicated.
I mean, we got the stuff about the pedophile out. Like we actually, so funnily enough, we didn't go on a tangent until the end. We behaved.
Yeah, see, guys, we behaved. We are good. See, guys.
I'm going to tell you a story, a true story. So, do you guys remember when the Engels, like, I don't know how the fuck he gets this information, but the Engels just seems to know everything. For some reason, he just knows shit. I don't know.
Oh, Nat, remember that comment I made about when you said that shit? Remember that comment?
Which one?
The Engels.
No, do not. No, you don't want people to know about that. Don't bring that up. Shit,
like this is the thing. Falcone is dedicated to the meme.
But remember what Engels said: memes are LARP. I guess we'll make an exception.
I think
it's not LARP. It's actually trolling the white.
To disclose this, he's gonna get in contact with Jose Maria Cincion. You got him that contact?
My story, because we're gonna have to go soon, comrades. My story. Are you ready?
Yeah, story time.
So, if you remember, I'm gonna flush out for you what actually happened, because, see, like, freaking B level. He's like, oh my gosh, you're lying about it. But first of all, nobody said that you actually
That's the
doxed
B
my
level.
kids.
That's the
You
B
said that you
level.
doxed me, and we said that whatever the fuck you're doing at the Phantom Menace is coming to fuck us up, and you need to stop this. And what ended up happening? He ended up hanging out with Scandals Continua, known for anti-Semitism and transphobia in the Phantom Menace, and
B level.
and he's friends with the boss guy.
pushing the pushing the limits of the law a bit there, aren't you, Falcone?
Guys, can I say this? This is not controversial. I hope, basically,
I like how you, before you go, I like how you have to clarify that before you say something. Because, by the way, this isn't controversial. Before someone shuts me up.
I hope my Arizona comrades give him something in the head that starts with a B.
What happened basically was, okay, so GRS is a different patriotic socialist group. They are very friendly with PSFM because what patriotic socialism is one form of Demarchism, but the thing about the patriotic socialists is they always appreciate different units that they can argue with because they love dialectical arguments. GRS is kind of closing, but GRS has their book out. The idea will be that the book will be out. PSFM adopted their book, but PSFM used to work at a boarding house that I lived at. And unfortunately, the landlady did not know that there were people who also lived in, because there's this thing called the runaways, and there were people that ran in. And I was set up to watch, not to be a caretaker, but just to make sure people didn't stay off narcotics. And GRS found it difficult to organize their situation because they lived there too, because the other group in the house, the other group in the boarding house was trying to turn it into a trap house. So there was a conflict between GRS and the narcotics guys because there was a fundamental disagreement. So this is later what crashed GRS, but GRS did manage to survive a lot of their people. GRS knew what happened. They notified me and Jason and Darsnovia later. They started telling people shit. The remnants of GRS, and they hooked up with the VA because there are Navajos in the VA, and there is a growing sentiment that, especially because a lot of people in Arizona, get this, they hate RedTube. So the far left has had to clarify the difference between the Radlibs and the far left. In the process of this, listen, thanks to Comrade Brokemon of PSFM and Jason and Jason's friend and my friend and all of our friends, Comrade number 3, both in PSFM, Comrade Brokemon and Comrade number 3. A unity was born between the Navajo Nation and the VA, because there is a pedophile issue going on. A lot of it's done by the Radlibs. There is another issue where
we need to bring more and more people to the Navajo Nation too, because they've got a correct line of struggle in America. Navajo do, maybe not in line with what the Maoists are. Well, this won't entirely.
You notice how Maxwell pointed out that Maxwell's understanding of the other Carl came exclusively from B-Level. It seems that B-Level was talking shit to everybody the whole time. B-Level seems so nice, and this
B-Level's a master manipulator. What did you expect? B-Level manipulated all of us. B-Level manipulated us to fucking bullshit.
This is nothing special to the whatever. It's not because they're special. It's just this is a skill of the aristocracy. They manipulate. That's why everyone gets caught onto all these demagogues. They act like demagogues. It's a tendency of their class conditions. So every class consciousness has an ideology it eventually builds up towards that comes from its class roots. The class consciousness of the bourgeoisie is liberalism, capitalism. That's their comfort. They don't like. So fascism is lovely and beneficial for them when they're suffering, but that is them trying to either expand out when they're suffering, or it is a conglomeration of them trying to expand out and quicker and be a bigger dick to another empire. So they like liberalism. The labor aristocracy, their class consciousness is fascism. They want that fascist fucking. They don't want it as their core system. They use it as a tool to protect their class position. They only need class consciousness when they have to, when they really need to go volatile, screech out, and start organizing together and fighting against the proletariat, and well, not so much fighting against them, but fighting against their interests, using them as a tool to build fascism. The proletariat class consciousness, that's socialism. That is the move forward. Whether it's the Marxists, the Bundists, or anyone else, we all need to work together and figure that out when we've dealt with the capitalists. But at the end of the day, the socialism is the movement forward in that segue, and we need to get into how socialism is going to definitely change in the next run forward when we have our next revolutions. It's not going to be exactly the same. The core foundations of it, like as Net was already going on about with his ideas of socialism, already fall into those core foundations slightly anyway. But the ownership of the means of production along everyone, the fact that people are living in meritocratic, so they're being paid by the value of the labor that they produce, and that we remove tax from society, because you know what, from the surplus labor value which we follow as Marxists, why do we need tax in society? We promised to eliminate that. We should eliminate that. But
Yeah.
you know, Nat, you mentioned a really good thing that comes into what we were talking about earlier, that dives into dual power and the really importance of dual power and how we need to support all these peoples, because it's, you know, what your story was going on about really links up to the sort of greater perspective as to why we need to support all these struggles and why we need to build a dual power movement amongst these struggles. Otherwise, there's more and more people will be dying for a struggle for nothing.
Patriotic socialists are extremely efficient at dual power. They don't call it that, though, but like that in the Marxist definition, it would be considered dual power. So we're gonna have to go, comrades. I'm glad that glad for all the people that showed up. We will we'll be around again. Does anybody have any closing statements?
Can I say something? Viva Guerrero Popular, Viva el Marxismo, Leninismo, Maoismo, and Red Salute, comrades. Goodbye.
What's
all right.
it?
All right, so the rules are what, like, does Sylvie have anything last to say? Because you're both going to reply to a wonderful statement I must make, as tradition here dictates.
Well, I mean, the point that we got to keep contention in is that we live in the most comfortable world, regardless of how turmoil it can be, and we need to keep our eye open, because the people that do live in luxury, that do have comfort, that do live in this foundation of the labor aristocracy, they are burying their heads in the sand with the imperialists at any turn that they can to keep trying to push for their defense and their class positions, and we need to keep ready for any of these suits, as I like to call them, these dickheads. They're fucking looking out for their class positions, and we need to stand with the lumpen, with the proletariat, as these two comrades have put in their positions forward in their movements and what they've said in their content and what I have said virulently from my mouth from anyone who's ever talking to me. We need to come together with them and need to stand with them and need to build that base, because that's where we're going to find our smartest comrades, not in the aristocracy, in the poor. And as far as that goes, Red Salute.
All right, so Red Salute, comrades, and now I'm going to say it, and then you guys are going to say it. You're going to say the reply, and you should know it by now. Commies!
Jews.
Commies.
You're supposed to say Jews, because the communists say Jews. All right, let's try it again. Commies!
Jews.
Fuck, I don't know the other part.
Jews. If I say commies, the commies have to say Jews. So let's try it again. Commies.
Jews.
Maybe say Jew 3 times. Well, I'm gonna get stabbed now.
No,
Is
no.
it, so it's not like Bloody Mary, because it is past.
You know why?
You sure it's not like Bloody Mary though? Because it is past like 3 o'clock. Because you say Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror past like it's past like 3 o'clock or something. You get stabbed in the back.
Fascists and rad libs beware. Long live the Jewish Communist conspiracy.